So, good evening, everyone. Thank you for still thinking of me. For those of you wondering where the cast has been, basically, I had some work that I needed to do a little bit along the lines of a job application, and I didn't have a lot of time. I was given very short notice to get the thing done. I took the opportunity on the weekend. I did get an Elder Scrolls episode recorded, sort of in preparation for the fact that I would be occupied this week. But in order to try and do the best that I could, I did take Monday and Wednesday off. So for those of you who are wondering where I was, that was what was going on there. I'm just going to take a quick minute here and bring up some of my stats for the stream. Come on. But as is kind of evidence from some of the metrics in terms of things like subscriptions and follows and whatnot, there was definitely a dip. So that's maybe just a little bit of information for those of you wondering why, when I ask, would it be better for me to go, if I needed a break, would it be better for me to go for a short period of time, or to just have a proper long departure? 2 casts isn't a whole lot to miss, but you do actually wind up seeing it in the channel stats. But that's fine, because if it's not working for people, it's clearly not it's not sustainable for me to do this forever. And if taking a couple of days off is the sort of thing that that provides the catalyst, I'm never happy to see people go, but it's probably better that people find something that they're a little more in line with. Another thing that will probably be happening too is, obviously there's a lot of you who started watching because of Cultist Simulator, and given the fact that I've been taking a little bit of a break from that, I do know there's a bit of a test of patience in terms of the fact that I haven't been back to that. So I want to get myself a little bit more situated in my my current format, just in terms of meeting the obligations that I've had for existing games, and just trying to get back on track in terms of getting some of the other games that I've been meaning to do, just personally done. And once I feel like I'm a little bit more on my feet, I will I'll get back to recording. They will be videos. One of the things that really upset that Cultist Simulator plan was that Twitch is getting rid of the premieres, and so I'm not 100% sure what I'm going to do about that. And do keep in mind that Weather Factory is bringing in some more content. So it's made me feel a little bit better about not immediately going back into Cultist Simulator, even in a VOD format, because of course once the new DLCs start coming out, new DLC comes out, we'll certainly be playing that. So what else to say? Looks like I'm not actually connected to chat. Let's see what's going on here in the app. Now, one of the challenges here is I don't have ding chat. Interesting. Okay, let me just take a quick minute here and bring up my channel. I'm going to need to come up with sort of a second best get my chat window out. Sorry about the long start. Obviously, I wanted to do a little bit of a debrief about what happened. And I will admit, I'm feeling... I don't think I want to say foolish. I'm feeling a little disappointed in myself with regards to taking the time off, because part of it was studying for things, and I thought I looked at what I needed, and unfortunately some of the stuff I was tested on really wasn't sort of what I'd prepared for. I definitely leaned towards the skill set that I thought made me attractive for the thing, and it didn't turn out that way. So, and then there was a possibly technical problem. It may have just been a mistake on my part, but anyways, didn't do as well as I thought I should have in terms of the material that I knew. I felt I had a fairly good grasp on one, which I couldn't make any progress on at all because of the technical thing. The second one I actually felt a bit better about in retrospect, just in terms of my personal knowledge, but unfortunately very little of that wound up on display. So again, just a matter of being a little disappointed in myself in terms of not being able to put my best foot forward, but it happens. Just gives me an opportunity to study moving forward. So, the Divine Zerite Covenant. Now, this went from supposed to be kind of a casual, small one that would finish early to a real hair raiser. So, I kind of knew that this... Well, I didn't know, but I had a very good impression that opening the seal on Gish would unleash these devil creatures. So they are overwhelming. Oh yeah, overwhelming in terms of fleet power. They've cut off the advancement that we wanted to make. We are effectively waiting for them to declare war on us, and I'm going to need to try and figure out how I'm going to deal with that. So just as a reminder of what we are playing, we are a theocratic oligarchy. The chief presenter, Aku Spar, is an investor and warlike. Our governing ethics are xenophobic, pacifist, and spiritualist, and our civics are life-seeded with inward perfection. I'm really interested in inward perfection. It seems like a really fun way to play. But as always, we do we always do a little bit of a story. I think the writing on this one tends to, it really, I liked the idea behind this one. I think the writing I completely failed to. Does Stellaris have a defined end of game? More so now than it used to, Miles 4K. I'll cover that in just a minute. But I will read out the story here. Although again, it's one where the distance between idea and implementation really wasn't there. I didn't exactly rush in the construction of it, but I don't think it came off. Anyways, the reading of Luke chapter 19 that Samuel Parks Cadman gave on the morning of November 10th, 1929 did not produce any significant remarks at the time, yet it has been broadcast out into space ever since. At exactly 11:13 local time, the broadcast reached the planet Zur. And said to him, Master, rebuke thy disciples. And he answered and said unto them, I tell you that if these should hold their peace, the stones would immediately cry out, was intoned across the planet, coinciding with the sudden achievement of sentience among the local Zerite clusters. Zeratan populace have since built grand cathedrals to the creator Gospel Luke and continue to meditate on its existence to this day. So the idea here is that completely coincidentally, a resonant basically a verse hit the planet at the time that the species achieved sentience and created a religion since then. So that was why I went for life seeded and whatnot. Now, Miles 4K asked a question about defined endgame. In fact, while I'm at it, it's not the cleanest segue, but I am going to do my quick game command here. And there's two reasons for that. One, I do have the humble link, but number two, I also do need to be careful in disclosing. Obviously, I'm not American, but I do believe it's kind of on me to make sure I disclose these things. Paradox is very good in giving me a key for this. So this is actually the first species pack that I've not had to pay for, and all of the Stellaris DLCs Paradox has been very good in giving me a copy for. So thank you for them. But also keep in mind any claims that I'll be making about the game come sort of with that potential interest in mind. Although I always like to point out that I like to think that my opinions are worth more than just the cost of a DLC. But of course, with that in mind, one does need to pay the rent. So if you are considering picking this up, or Stellaris or anything along those lines, if you do use that humble link, I do get a portion of the purchase. And then of course, if you also use that link and wind up buying a Humble monthly subscription, I believe it'll be changing to Humble Choice either next month, I think it's next month, or if you use any of the bundles, you can use the slider to say how much I get for that. But Miles 4K was asking, is there a defined end game? So what was added in the Megacorps expansion is this little item here. So you have basically a victory list here. And it says here, on January 1st, 2500, the unidentified empire will win the game. So this is the one with the highest score. Now, there are crises that happen inside of the game, and there are sort of minor crises like the Great Khan waking up, and then in the game there's also a number of sort of catastrophic events that happen and either unite the galaxy or sort of, destroy it. So I think originally people would sort of play to a point where they resolved the crisis, or they sort of felt that it was an appropriate ending. At this point now, I think it's about 300 years in game time. You can get a victory by score. I've not, under the new system, actually got to an end game. My dwarf civilization met with an unfortunate accident, so I can't actually tell you what the end game looks like compared to the score-based one. But more so than in the past, there is now a more clearly defined ending. And I suspect it will probably become a little bit more interesting with the oncoming Federations DLC, because they're really going to be, it looks like they're really going to be fleshing out the diplomacy on that one, which is not bad, but I've always sort of felt that Federations they're a little, I don't want to say too static, but it really sort of felt that going up against one was uncommonly difficult, I guess, for lack of a better phrasing. Okay, if the game ends, is there a way to continue the game, or does it just end? That's a really good question. So, as I said, I haven't actually made it to 2500 yet under this new system. In the case of Crusader Kings 2, which has a similar system, the game does actually end and you need to start a new one. However, the modding community has adjusted it so that if you want to continue playing, you can. And so I suspect if it is a hard ending, it will, there will be a mod to manage that sooner rather than later. But I don't have a direct answer for that for you, Miles 4K, just because I haven't actually done it myself yet. Okay. Taking a little bit to get going, so let's review the position that we're in right now. Obviously, the big worry that I have is the Prikiki T, and they are strong enough to cause me grief. Now, the nice thing about them being so overwhelming is also what I do in reaction to that. So the space station that they have here has 5k strength. My current fleet is not even 1,000. Maybe that will bump up to that when I heal them. But the fact of the matter is I have absolutely nothing I can throw against these guys. So the best that I can do is set up a defensive position. There's a sublight speed reduction of 50%. That, of course, applies to both sides, so that doesn't do a whole lot. But I've got a missile battery and an anchorage. The missile battery is for defense. The anchorage is so that I can boost up my naval capacity. And what I'll be doing, we've already got crew quarters, so that means that I can dock my ships in this system. And then I will also be building some defensive platforms when the time comes. So again, because we know that we don't really have a realistic chance of winning any kind of a war with them, we will play on the defensive, and essentially, if I want to try and end them for good, I need to have a 5k strength fleet, although what I might do is, if I feel like my fleet is strong enough to be able to take them on, which is still going to be a while, what I might do is sort of kind of declare a preemptive war to just trim their wings a little bit, get them away from the wormhole. Although the wormhole might be something that, unless it winds up going here, it may actually wind up putting them in touch with another civilization, which that would be good because it means that they'll have to fight something else. So long run, the goal is to get a fleet strong enough to take these guys on, and that will be a fairly high priority over time. But the fact of the matter is, I can only build so many star bases, and I can only sustain so many ships. So what I need to be focusing on as well is building up my industrial base. I did originally make a claim that I was going to try and keep my administrative capacity in line, so we've got another 19 points to move with. Now, the fact of the matter is, as the colonies grow, the capacity, I'm going to be going outside the bounds of my capacity, so whether or not I make that a hard limit, I haven't quite decided on yet. But my expansion plans right now would be these systems, this one for the choke point, and then if I can swing it, little something like this, especially because this one gets me the alloys, which I'm going to be needing. The rest of it, it is really interesting to be playing Life-Seeded Inward Perfection with the Lithoids. It's not just some cool portraits and the new voices that come with the DLC. There are new mechanics for the Lithoids, and there's hints, at least, that there will be that this is not the only kind of extension like this. I don't know if they're going to be going back to the old species packs or if they're just going to be adding more of these mechanics in future updates. But if you play Lithoids, they consume minerals instead of food. They have a reduced population growth speed, but higher habitability, higher army health, and a longer leader lifespan. So the description here is the species has a silicon-based biology and consumes minerals rather than food. They are tougher than traditional organics and have a slower metabolism, making them long-lived but slow to reproduce. So it's a really interesting way of playing, especially given that it's my first exposure to Life-Seeded. I don't think you're quite supposed to be able to colonize these other planets, but I will certainly take it, and we'll run along. Now, I'm a little resource constrained, so let's just take a quick look at what we're working on here. I've got 5 available jobs. We're at 31, so we're on our way to securing a new building slot, but at the moment, I'm just going to let things run along. On Minshare Prime, we need one more job, and then we'll be able to build our next building, so I'm happy there. And then in Verdamon Prime, we have space for one more job. We're building a generator district. This is the one that I really wanted to focus on because we didn't quite have enough to get ourselves up to the next spot. So in terms of construction, we're good. I would love to be producing some more ships, but at the moment I don't have the alloys, and it might be an idea for me to just hold off on that for a little bit because it will become more expensive as I go past the naval cap. So there's really nothing left for me to do right now other than unpause, and we have a little bit of an idea in terms of what the strategy is going to be. Now, if I had to make a guess in terms of where I would put defensive positions, 1, 2, and then sort of by necessity I would need to put a 3rd on Phonak at some point, but I'm going to have to hold off. Oh, and on Heodim. Clearly, I'm going to need more. I'm going to need more capacity. So the highest priority at the moment would be a starbase here and a starbase here, just to protect my outer bounds. That would take care of Jezemi's already one. System geology. One's already taken care of. In fact, I might even go over, if it goes over my administrative cap, just being able to secure these kinds of positions, I think is worth it from a, making the most of my resources point of view. But over time, I'm going to need to put up a defensive platform for the gateway and the wormhole, because obviously these are entry points. Nobody's going to care that there is a defensive position if they have a gate directly into the heart of my empire. I mean, let's face it, it's not that far away from my capital world. It's pretty much, it's not exactly a direct path. You could theoretically go in. But I mean, if I were invading, I'd probably want to take a fleet in Phonak, send in a fleet through Heodim, and meet together at Brink. Which, I guess it would be slower to move through that, but still gets me straight to the capital. Okay, Minshare can build their next building. So it looks like we are short on consumer goods. Now, I did kind of want this one to focus on energy if I could. But it is the first available location. Now, you know what? We will get them to build civilian industries. So the idea that I'm going to do on this is that for civilian industries, I am not going to... I'm not going to try for a surplus. However, I am going to address any deficit by basically filling out any planet that does not have... Oh, let's fix that. Stop. So, research project first, and then the anomaly. I have a feeling I have a couple of other ships that are like that in terms of not doing the activities that I want them to be doing. So, yeah, they're investigating. Actually, no, we're in good shape. We'll just queue up that starbase to make sure that the minerals are taken care of. Yeah, so the approach that I'm going to be trying here with the lithoids is that especially now that I've got a fairly nasty neighbor, I do want to be fairly aggressive in my acquisition of alloys, but not to the point of running consumer goods deficits. I will make sure that we have enough to. I'll make sure that we have enough to be in the black. Also, given the fact that we now have this technological disadvantage, I am probably going to need to be focusing on research again. So, all right, so they are set up. We just need to wait for the next building slot. Normally, I would have gone for something like the temple. Of course, that is a major advantage for my rock folks. This is actually another consideration. So on the desert world, the amenities usage goes up and the resources from jobs goes down. So this really is a maintenance move that I'm making here. In terms of things like building research and whatnot, I really want to be considering the Empire capital as far as this is concerned. I might also want to consider which of the upgrades count as resources. So things like a barracks may not. It may just grant me the additional naval capacity without having any kinds of penalties in terms of resource production. All right, atmospheric ecosystem. We have discovered a thriving ecosystem in the upper atmosphere of the gas giant Torum 5. Massive floating creatures having evolved bodies with lighter than air gases follow the wind currents and feed off the energy released by the gas giant's frequent lightning storms. These beings in turn support colonies of smaller animals that prey on atmospheric plankton and each other. Fascinating, and we get another 3 social research for that. So it just makes the Torum system all the more attractive. We're already trying to claim it, so there's not a whole lot that I can do otherwise. Large portion of asteroid 8FV094 has been hollowed out to allow for the construction of some kind of shipyard. It has been abandoned and exposed to the vacuum of space for centuries. If anything useful remained, it has already been looted by previous explorers. The design of the shipyard itself is unique, however, and much could potentially be learned by its study. Okay, so I think we were going to make for Zedran anyway. The relic world in particular is really attractive. The only problem is I think this might be the rubricator.
Research complete.
All right, let's see what we got here. So Starbase is done at Hithram. We'll build the mining station for the energy before moving on to the next starbase. And let's see what tech we got. Powered exoskeletons, additional 5% army damage and 5% minerals from jobs. So an important distinction to make here is that it is... so this is a pop-based improvement. This isn't quite what it used to be. Back in the original version of Stellaris, minerals were one of the strongest resources that you could get because there were no refined goods like alloys, and so minerals would be how you build infrastructure, and they would be how you built ships. And effectively, having a huge stock of minerals would mean that you can throw fleets into certain death, but you wouldn't really care because you just wind up buying back a new fleet. In fact, I can remember getting to a point where I would throw fleet, I'd be going way over the fleet cap, but effectively it was because I knew I would just be throwing wave after wave after the problem, which is maybe not quite what the designers had in mind. So anyways, if you have people working in mines, you get an additional 5% for people working in there. So wearing a powered exoskeleton suit augments the user's strength and speed. The military applications are obvious, but will also increase labor efficiency. So our options for engineering, we do have a specialization for Voidcraft, and it is a hull improvement, so that's not a terrible one for me to go for. I am mildly tempted, though, to go for the zero-G refineries. And again, it is worth remembering that the lithoids consume minerals. You can also get additional pops by digging them out of the mountains. So in this case, I am going to go for the zero-G refineries. It's a fairly cheap one, and it's going to have some fairly direct benefits in terms of my current plans, which are expansion and building out an industrial base. This is a fairly new playthrough. I mean, again, I'm not entirely sure it's a representative playthrough because we did unleash a nightmare on the galaxy very early on. But I do play the game quite slowly, and as you can tell, I do speak through my my decisions. So for those of you who are curious about Stellaris, if you're still on the fence about buying it, I did, of course, mention that I've not had to pay for the game. but I am a huge fan of it, and you know, I try to give as honest of an accounting as I can of my feelings about the game. But if you want to know what it's like, if it's something that you think is, you know, maybe you wanted to pick up, I can definitely let you know what I think make it worthwhile. Okay, now this is kind of interesting. So we've got 2 relic worlds. So the Rubricator is on Anaxidor 3. I may not want to pick it up because generally that results... Well, my one experience with it resulted in something very nasty, but apparently this place... we don't have that worry. I cannot believe I have been paused this whole time. Okay. Oh, neat. So we're definitely going to go over the... cap. But this does give me more planets to colonize. Okay. So eventually I'm going to build all of these defensive platforms, but I think it makes a little more sense for me to build those after we've expanded out to the areas we need. I don't believe these take up naval capacity slots. Where are you going? Let's try that again. In fact, I think what I'm going to do... Oh, right. Yeah. I can't do the archaeology until I claim the system. Alright, I've got a little bit of a surplus as far as alloys are concerned, so let's build up our corvettes. We'll take it easy. I'll just do sort of one at a time, because I do have 2 construction ships running around and they are going to want to expand my empire. But there's no point in not investing in the military at this point. By the way, if I'm a little slow to reply to messages, my streaming program is not working very well in terms of the chat interaction, so it's probably going to be a little bit more of a quiet stream in general, just in terms of people coming back. I'm starting a little bit late. I've been off a couple of days, but on the other hand, Stellaris was a really popular one when I did it last. So you never know. But with that in mind, quiet chats are actually kind of nice in this context because it allows me to give a little bit more individual attention to people who want to know a bit more about the game and decide whether or not it's for them. So if you do have any questions, I will do my best to give you the answers that you seek.
Project complete.
All right, miraculously we managed to salvage parts of the Voltum data core that has been blown clear of the crater on Zedran 6A. Most of the data was corrupt, but our scientists did manage to properly translate the Korga, the basic Voltum time unit. An interesting find. So we found 1 minor artifact, and we got some engineering research for our trouble, and that was... neat.
Construction complete.
Oh, I see why I did this. Okay. I made a mistake here, because this guy was going to be focusing on these systems. Well, that's fine. I can sort of realign the search. For several months now, we've received scattered reports of small numbers of alien mercenaries and privateers orbiting the frontiers of our space. They call themselves the Uberic, and they are apparently exiles from a nomadic warrior culture inhabiting overcrowded space stations in and around the Lithoids system. Their passage near our space proceeded without incident, but they warned us against trespassing in Lithoids. There is no Uberic central government to speak of, but their various factions are engaged in constant infighting and often launch raids against neighboring star systems. Indeed, given their vast population and space-based production capability, the Uberic would likely be a significant galactic power if they ever stopped killing each other. Attempt to contact them. Outsiders, we are the Ubarak. Unlike the civilized star nations of the galaxy, we have no single master to lord over us, but I have been chosen to convey this message to you on behalf of the houses. Do not try to impose your soft and effete ways upon us. You may freely send your alien ships into Ubarak territory, but do not expect them to return. Our warriors will welcome the diversion, however. Transmit on this frequency only if you wish to offer tribute, or if you have need of mercenaries, as well as the means to pay for them. Alright. So fortunately, they're pretty far away. Unfortunately, people can pay to send them off after me, and I don't actually have that much in terms of goods to buy them off with. So I need to be a little concerned, but not it's not a catastrophe yet. Just a reminder, or not a reminder, but to reiterate my plans. Scanning the star unveils a small object in rapid orbit. Its small size and high velocity make it difficult for our sensors to isolate. I'll research that. I actually think I'm going to let the two science ships do their own thing. Oh Jesus Christ, these guys are going to be a problem. What was I going to say? The plan, so the reason I sort of shifted and said I was willing to go over the administrative cap, clearly Torum is great in terms of all of the different resources it gives me, but there's also exotic gases which will help me in terms of research. Alternatively, it's also good for the science points. I'll queue up the new starbase. And then again, similar ideas here. Even the ones that don't have the exotic gases, 5 energy, 15 minerals, it's really hard to find systems that are this good. So it makes sense to seal it off in Torum and then claim the lands, hopefully without too much of a hit to the cap. There are signs of activity by an ancient precursor civilization on this inhospitable rock. Now, it does take a long time, but again, I do have 2 science ships in the region, so I'm not too worried about it. I will queue this guy up for a little bit more exploration, though. And against my better judgment, I might even try and fast forward the game. I'm feeling confident enough we can knock out another Corvette, but we are getting a little light on the alloys because we'll go down 100 when this guy finishes in the Phonox system.
Construction complete.
Okay, so fortunately though, we are going to have more than enough time to build these extensions. So this time I'm going a little more hands-on. The reason for this is alloys are the top priority, and then what I want to do is rather than just build mining stations, I actually want to prioritize the high yield ones before I move on. So what I might even wind up doing is take Torum 1 and the asteroid, because that's a total of 9 minerals. Then I would focus on social and engineering. Engineering would be probably the higher priority because, well, it is my highest research level. But I can think engineering being a higher priority just because it tends to have more military applications. But we are a little short in terms of minerals, but clearly we're going to be... This is very much a spend money to make money situation. Okay, we've gotten a report from Science Officer Ulk 9. It seems that a ceramic container is circling the star Harapsis. Most peculiar. It obviously should not be there, and yet somehow it has managed to find its way into a close orbit. A special project can be issued to investigate the container and to try to deduce how it ended up there. So you can say a conundrum worth investigating, or surely this is a sign of the divine. It's interesting. I do like the idea of getting a stack of influence because I certainly could use it for the... the expansion plans, but I think in this case the conundrum worth investigating is actually the better option. I do normally like going for sort of on-brand choices, but the research I'll be gaining from the ceramics is a little too tempting here. I mean, it says ceramics plural, but I believe it's just one teapot.
Construction complete.
Okay, we've got our second of 2 ships we're allowed to build from our new extension. That's not exactly the sort of thing that sets one's loins on fire, but you know what? I think I just set up for the alloys, but nothing else. And I am going to commit to engineering, then social research. So that'll give them something to think about. We do generate a fairly decent number of alloys, so I might be willing to go a little bold and build another ship. I think I was originally waiting until 3, but I might go for 200. But yeah, we already kind of covered why we're taking the territory that we're taking. Next up, in terms of defensive positions, again, it's mostly a maximizing yield relative to the cost to administrative cap. So it's, you know, getting 4 rare crystals would be spectacular. And it actually looks like a very tempting position to claim because of the wormhole. But that's the problem. If I put my main defensive position here, yeah, well, we kind of knew that was coming. We are even less prepared for it than I thought we would be, though. I don't think my ships are going to get to this space station in time, and this was supposed to be sort of the tripwire. Yeah. Foul Rock, you had better prepare your fleets, for this is war. Our flesh harvesters are coming for your pebbles. So they basically want to take everything. And in this case, we will say end threat or humiliate. I think actually humiliate might work a little bit better. I guess we don't get to claim either. All right. So one of the first things that I want to do is get some intelligence in terms of what their ships are made out of. I'm fairly certain that this is the end of this playthrough, if I'm completely honest, but we'll work with what we've got. There is a mild temptation for me to send fleets to take Medgar, because I can heal. Strong energy emissions of an unknown origin make this asteroid stand out from the rest of its peers in a crowded asteroid field. So we'll research that. Just trying to think of any other options that I have here. I can sort of say... Oh, here they are. Okay, so let's see what we're up against. Well, you know what? 1.1k against that 713. If I had actually put my people in the right spot, we could have managed it. Problem is, I'm not sure we're going to be able to finish the job on time, but we'll do our best.
Hostile fleet rumbled.
Okay, and they have... oh no, these are reinforcements. Even more reinforcement. Crap. Yeah, we can't take them on. Okay, well, this will be an education. So they are full mass... Okay, 2 mass drivers and a laser, and they are beam heavy, but they've got good armor. Oh, Jesus, yeah. So these guys are basically good at everything. Okay, so let's just take a quick minute on the ship designer, see what we can work with here. So we've got lasers and mass drivers. Well, I suppose we can switch to the mass drivers, and then if they're heavy on... Alright. This is what I would have preferred, but for some reason it doesn't want to... Oh, I know why. because it's the auto best. And then this is exactly what I would have wanted for this one. Maybe a little bit more armor, but other than that. Now the problem is, of course, we can't implement any of these changes in time. But let's see what we're working with.
Construction complete.
I mean, maybe the plan should be that we take them at the home world. Because if we're taking a the question is like, what do I really expect to have happen if I've got a 1K fleet and a 700 base defending against 2K fleet? The numbers really are not on our side here.
Station under attack.
You better believe I'm curious. Okay. There is a sense where I might want to try Harmony. Because there is the bulwark of Harmony, but the fact of the matter is the war is going to be over by the time we can actually get it. So, research station output increased or research alternatives. I think we'll go for the extra output, although we're certainly going to lose a bunch of that. And we'll see how resilient the ship is, I suppose. Well, its shields are already gone. I may want to be reconsidering this approach. So half of its armor's down. Doesn't look like there is much damage on their main fleet. Asteroid 91FNY1K is pockmarked with craters from weapon blasts and appears to have been used as a target range by someone roughly 2 millennia ago. Residual energy readings suggest that they tested increasingly exotic weaponry, including subspace bombs and some kind of singularity generator. Our scientists would be interested in studying the unusual energy echoes that remain. Okay, so let's head back. Queue up the upgrades. We effectively have to relinquish all of these territories. And they've got the invasion. The good news is the colonized worlds are all past, like they have to go through Zruv to get there, basically. So this is what we're going to be losing. It's quite a bit. But we will survive. And yeah, if you take a look at the damage that the base did, I mean, there's some, but it's not really credible to think that we would have walked away from that better off. So I think we'll have to accept the losses. I'm going to put a bit of an investment into. Let's get. Oh, actually, we lost. Right, we're over the cap now because of that loss. So I think there's some sense in investing in the defensive platforms. So this is unique to the species that we're fighting against. I think it's the fanatical purifier that gets this, but basically their cleansing war allows them to essentially they get to claim anything that they want. Or not claim anything that they want, but basically they when they take something, it is the same as a transfer of power. The good news, though, is that the same happens with us when we sort of reply. If we take that territory back, we get it, and that would apply to Medgar and Kater as well. So. All right. Elections are in progress. Select a candidate to support or spend influence to keep our current ruler for another term. If we do not interfere, a random candidate will be elected. It'll cost us 200 influence, which we don't have. So, hello, Kiknik. You're about to see the fall of my rock people. I think we'll probably just I had 3 ideas for the species, but I think what we'll do is we'll just restart this playthrough when it ends. I mean, there's the possibility that we'll come out on top in the end. It's unlikely, but it's pretty deceptive the way that they're stacked on top of each other.
Hostile fleet rumbled.
So I am a little relieved to see that it's a bit more of an even fight. So I'll keep the defensive platforms in mind. I'm not going to completely abandon development in the Empire. New ruler has been elected. Chief Presenter Aku Spar will rule until the next election, which will take place in 2240-0401. They've re-elected, again, build cost upkeep. All of this is all stuff that would be great for the circumstances I find myself in. Ooh, now this is tempting. These guys got out a little bit ahead of time. I'm gonna keep the discipline though. Yeah, that's exactly why. So we'll go for the energy on this one. Looks like the upgrades are still underway. Hopefully we get those sooner rather than later. And I think in this one I can afford to speed things up a little bit. So the Voltum Virtual Reality Center. Voltum engineers have at some point built a massive orbital complex near Hadufis 3 dedicated to computer research. Strangely, they seem to have ignored the normally popular field of artificial intelligence to focus exclusively on virtual realities and massive computer simulations. Most of the complex has been ruined by weapons fire and micrometeoroids, but what remains is in remarkable condition given the station's age. So, special project. Also, I'm kind of curious, so if we surrender, I think this just means that we get wiped out. So it's really, like, that's a full-on game over. I'm not going to do it just because I want to see what the last stand of the Rockmen look like. But I think this is the shortest game I've ever played. Organizational circuitry, rerouting academic fervor. Okay. So beams will not help us here because they've got, hey, Jim the Eternal, good to see you again. It's been a while. And hello to everybody from Jim's channel. I'm coming off of a few days off, so it's nice to get a little bit of a boost like that. I hope you're all doing well. And what were you playing tonight, Jim? For those of you who don't know Jim the Eternal, I think I can get out of the window for this. I met through Cultist Simulator. I don't know. Frostpunk mostly. Frostpunk's an excellent game. I haven't played a lot of it, but it's an excellent game nonetheless. But yeah, Jim the Eternal is somebody, I think actually the only other streamer to be on the Weather Factory Steam page. I'm sure you are looking forward to the new DLC. But as you can see, also somebody who does games similar to the ones that I do. Again, like I said, I haven't actually done Frostpunk, but definitely I enjoy sort of strategy and city building, and it's got both in spades. I hope you're doing very well tonight. Thank you for thinking of me. You were about to see the last stand of the Rock People, as I think I'd really benefit the most from global energy management given my energy focus. So again, we're not going to, if I'm making decisions like that, like I need to, if I think that the game is over, I might as well close it. There's no point in not playing as if you are going to finish the war. But I'm also not very optimistic about the prospects here. So.
Construction complete. Construction complete.
Well, normally I do reasonably well. The last couple of times we played, though, I've been clobbered. So this one we just got very unlucky. Well, not even unlucky. I kind of had a hunch in terms of unleashing something bad, but we wound up beside, I believe we will see that they are overwhelming in terms of fleet power. And we're playing pacifists with internal inward perfection. So it's really not a whole lot I can do about that. Again, I'm a little curious if they're going to be coming into Zerv. Alright, you guys, we still can't afford mining stations for you. That's rather embarrassing. So we'll get you to build on the most valuable mining bit. So again, we're all kind of just waiting to see how this goes. Oh! We've encountered some form of alien vessels in the Ler-Zumon system. These strange objects have been flagged as the Theta Menace until we can learn more about them. We should proceed with caution. You haven't tried the Rock People DLC yet. Got it, just haven't fired it up yet. It's really, it's actually really neat in this case, Devinach. Welcome, by the way. Because so the society I made was to line up with the story that we had in mind for them. But we went for life-seeded inward perfection, and what I didn't realize at the time was the fact that you get the bonus 50% to habitability. And so it's created this strange situation where it's actually potentially worth it to colonize other worlds. Now again, we'll just reset with these guys again, because I'm not entirely sure this is quite what we had in mind when we said it would be a short run. But I'm learning things, so alright, I'm curious what these guys are. Oh, okay. This is fascinating. Oh, here we go. Special project completed. After almost giving up hope studying the accursed ceramic object for so long, we have reached a breakthrough. The container is a sacred relic left in orbit as a sign, surely from the divine. The object is brimming with energy, which, when decrypted, reveals its hidden message, information on how to help us ascend by improving our research efforts. The only question now is, who sent this message? Well, I think we know who sent this message, and for those of you who don't know, the reading of Luke chapter 19 that Samuel Parks Cadman gave on the morning of November 10th, 1929 did not produce any significant remarks at the time, yet it is broadcast out into space ever since. At exactly 11:13 local time, the broadcast reached the planet Zur. Quote, and said to him, Master, rebuke thy disciples. And he answered and said unto them, I tell you that if these should hold their peace, the stones would immediately cry out, was intoned across the planet, coinciding with the sudden achievement of sentience among the local Zurite clusters. The Zuratan populace have since built grand cathedrals to the creator Gospel Luke and continue to meditate on its existence to this day. So, clearly, we have found a relic from Gospel Luke, who has apparently forsaken us, but details. Now, I'm really curious where they wind up going. Ion Trail. The ISS Agrophenel has picked up a signal from a discarded signal buoy belonging to one of our missing sublight probes in the Jugrad system. There's an ion trail leading away from the buoy on a trajectory towards another star, suggesting that someone has towed the probe there for unknown reasons. Let's see where this trail ends.
Construction complete. Construction complete.
Oh, this is going to be fun. So this is the neat thing. So it looks like they are heading towards the colony area, but we are going to be able to give their army a welcome. I want to be careful on this. We want this fight to end very quickly, because this is about the only time we're going to be able to take them out. But this is a huge boon to us, because it's meant that we are able to... We're basically able to buy a bit of time against the invasions. Okay, engineering research. More shooting at this point. And they are fairly good at shields, so... Yeah, they have twice my fleet capacity. Or my fleet strength. So even if we make our last stand on Zruv, if they want to take it, they'll take it. And I have idle construction ships. Alright. Let's get you continuing to build mining stations, and I think I just... yeah. I don't think I have enough... oh no, yes I do. Whether or not it's any good is another matter. Gospel Luke had a translation error when he said the very rocks would cry out. He meant blast out, specifically with high energy weapons. Okay, so looks like these guys are a little mad about me bullying. Oh, come on! I don't mind losing, but I did give a very specific instruction to come. All right, at least they got in. They got back in range. So this will be interesting to look at because they didn't actually bring their full. Didn't bring their full strength.
Rocking up to enemy fleet.
So we have at least a defensive platform to help us out here. And my supplemental fleet will be kind of helpful against their group. So this is a somewhat even matchup.
Anomaly found.
There appears to be deliberately crafted structures on the planet's surface, pointing towards a past long forgotten. Yeah, and this is why we didn't engage them in that other system. So we've lost at least 4 ships.
Innovation rollout.
Adaptive bureaucracy. The progress we make calls for a new, nimbler form of administration that may aid rather than hinder us in our pursuits. How severe is the sinkhole problem? Keeps me from building districts. There's a lot of them. This would let me build more generator... well, yeah, but I don't really need those generator districts. Okay, so no sinkholes. I actually don't need any of these, so I'll go for the cheapest one. So the really curious one on this is going to be whether or not I'm able to repair my guys in time. So let's just take a quick minute here and knock out as many corvettes as we can. I think this is actually also one where we're willing to empty out the treasury for this. I'm going to be reading these reports with great interest when the time comes. Because this is an encounter that we won, and the real matter here now is avoiding the loss of the ships. Okay, so they ran. Okay, so we lost the defensive platform. That is a shame. Apparently they lost nothing. That is unbelievably terrible. All right. So really good efficiency. Our hit ratio leaves something to be desired. What was the kinetics? So it looks like it was evasion that did us in. So I mean, the real question here now is, do I want to go all in and go pure mass driver? I think that's a little too aggressive of a strategy, but it's tempting. I think the biggest thing that keeps me from doing that at the moment is I need to heal up and hope that we're ready for the next batch. Okay. Oh, Jesus Christ, yeah, so their armada is already ready to go. So, I mean, at this point, we might get a ship built during the fight. But we'll heal as much as we can.
System survey complete.
I mean, numerically, we've got the edge. But that's not going to count for that much once some of these ships start dropping and going into... start escaping. Alright, the fumes lie thick. The planet Jugrad 3 is a toxic wasteland, but our scans unveil that it has not always been so. A now extinct civilization seems to have destroyed its home planet via heavy reliance on climate-altering fuels and toxins. On a remote hill, close to a major city, we have found a lone active facility, a robot assembly plant, desolated and surrounded by military vehicles so deteriorated that they break upon touch. The facility is alien and mysterious, but could provide us with ample study material. A cautionary tale. Okay. Again, just because we're losing doesn't mean we abandon... Wait, shouldn't they be... Yeah. Because we're losing doesn't mean we completely abandon the playthrough, but we'll do the excavation. But I'm under no illusions about how this is going to go. Though it looks like we do get a ship to add to the battle, kind of as predicted. Alright, I mean, we could be in worse off shape. Looks like the station is stopping the construction. That is a shame. So they are going to have the edge against my fleet. Oh, Jesus, yeah, that was a big advantage that they had. New colony. Hello again! You'll be pleased to learn that our species has quadrupled in number since we arrived. Many of us were swept up in a festive mood when we made planetfall, and things got a bit frisky, to say the least. After the positive experience we had colonizing Baldorak, a few brave pioneers have asked me to petition you for passage to another gas giant. We've already located a promising candidate within your space that would be suitable for colonization. What do you say, friends? Well, as long as it's just another gas giant. Of course, whether we're around to... to drop them off is another matter. Marvelous! We're forwarding you the coordinates. Our colonists are eager to get underway. Alright. So it looks like they're focusing on my base now, which is a small bonus. It means that we're going to be able to hit their corvettes for a little bit. Again, it's not clear whether or not we're going to be able to see it through to the end, because our ships are going to get knocked out. But if we can weaken them enough for the space station to finish the job, I can live with that. Oh yeah, my fleet's done. The really deceptive part about the space stations are the fact that they have a big number does not mean that they're going to carry the day, because that 514 goes to 0 the second that it loses its hull. And it fires slowly. But they're also not denting the hull that much. So we're kind of in a bit of a standoff. The drawback here is this is my only source of source of defensive units, and so every second that this fight is going on is time where I'm not building. It's time where I'm not building replacements. So normally I would not send a weakened fleet in to mop these guys up, but I actually need this cleared out, and this is the only place these guys can heal. Because of course it's important to remember that encounter we had where we lost ships, that did not lose them any units. They have been healing and will be coming back. Which, needless to say, I'm not exactly crazy about, but... okay, so normally we would be expanding out to another system, but we need the alloys for our defense. So construction ship's gonna sit idle for a bit. Colony. In this case, we're going for the stronghold for the naval capacity. Normally, I would do the temple, but okay, these guys might be cleaned up by the time the next the fleet comes back. They're actually doing a fairly good job on slapping them around. Do I have auto explore yet? I do. All right, we'll give them auto explore, and they've now become a psionics expert. So I did set these guys for a dock at the base mission, so they should still be on their way. Okay. Oh, and we don't get to see the report of the last one, but they did lose 10 corvettes, so it makes me feel okay about that. Clearly, we can't settle status quo. Yeah, we're not winning. Is the easy read I have on this. I do want to start taking back some of my territory, but I need to be very careful how I handle that. I want to be able to get my fleets... I basically want to be able to get my fleets back in the game. But I don't want to extend them so far that they're going to get caught by the interlopers. So I think what we might do is we just might nibble one system at a time until we wind up at Jezebel. We'll see what we're up against in terms of strength. Oh, nope, too late. Yeah, we're nowhere near where we need to be for this fight. And okay, they are healing. So like the combined total of these weakened buildings is equal to that fleet, but as we know, it's going to be a short fight for most of these ships as they get knocked out. The archaeologists investigating the Vultrum orbital complex above Hadifus 3 have stumbled upon an interesting find. They managed to recover a partial copy of what was apparently a fairly popular multi-user virtual reality game enjoyed by billions of Vultum across their empire. Although the game takes place in a fictional and highly satirized version of their contemporary society, it has proved an invaluable source of information on both their language and their customs. So 5 artifacts, 127 physics research. Not that we're going to be able to do much with it, but I think I can actually get a technology boost. A religious revelation will give me unity. No, because I'm spiritual, I forgot. Okay, and my science ship needs something to do. Well, you know what? We'll get them to auto-explore as well. Interesting.
Accretion complete.
So where are they going? Apparently they're going back. Then does there... Well, I mean, it's nice of them to give me the opportunity... Nice of them to give me the opportunity to heal up. I still think they're gonna mop the floor with us, but I've got nothing I can do with these guys. That is a shame. Alright, no covert. I mean, I can try and buy some alloys, but clearly we will not be able to produce these corvettes in time. So, we're at least a little healthier for the fight, but it'll be interesting to see where this all goes. This is the real shame about the fact that... Oh, interesting. Okay.
Anomaly found.
Oh, nope, they're coming back. I was just about to say, it's like, huh, well maybe we'll go reclaim some of these territories. So, what was that anomaly? Sensors pick up rhythmic movement on the hellish surface of Seul 1b. Oh yeah, no, this is the last stand if they want to make it that. It's nice that I get to build the ships, but we need substantial resources to be able to deal with this thing, so. I realize this is not always the most exciting to watch the extended defeat. I am a little curious, though, to get some read. One of the things that I haven't been too good at in this game is ship design, and I want to start focusing a little bit more on taking an active role in ship design and trying to be a little bit smarter in terms of my military choices. So seeing how badly I get beat does actually give me a hand here. So the measured pounding observed from orbit is the motion of immense and ancient geothermal extractors breathing their last. Built and then abandoned at some point in the distant past, the vast batteries of disintegrating machinery have been pumping up superheated fluids from the planet's core ever since. The storage capacitors are all broken or leaking, but some energy can still be siphoned from them. So we did just get money for the war effort. I just don't think we will have a shipyard by the end of it. All right, we do have the captain on it. So I mean, again, we're at the point. We're at full strength in terms of this, but in terms of matchups, our strongest fleet is weaker than their best fleet, and their best fleet can easily overwhelm the main station. Have you ever played as someone else's vassal? Does that end the game for you, or do you get to endeavor for freedom later? You do get to endeavor for freedom later. If you are a protectorate, it actually prevents you from being able to extend your borders. So I have not played as a vassal for people, but I have vassalized people, and they explained how those mechanics work to me. All right, looks like they haven't changed their design, so we get a chance to see how all these things work. I'm actually also kind of curious stats-wise how they fare against my guys. So I can only show one at a time, but so we have a slightly better evade, but it looks like for some reason they've actually been able to have a better evade than us. We've got missiles, and oh, that's actually the one thing I should have looked at was the missile damage, because I know our coil gun, our mass drivers, did well, but it might have been an idea to drop the nukes in favor of something a little bit more. Yes, happy Friday to yourself as well. Thank you for stopping by. All right, let's see how this thing plays out. As expected. So yeah, their evasion is... Oh no, this is the hit ratio. So it looks like, again, their evasion's doing pretty well. Our explosives definitely leave much to be desired. Alright, so our fleet just got wiped out. And we expect the same to happen. We did, like, nothing to them. We encountered some... Okay, we'll skip over that. Yeah, so we lost 7 ships. They lost nothing. So what are we looking at here? Laser's least efficient. So one change I would make for the future is that the missile didn't do enough damage to justify its place. Like, we're talking about a 30% change in efficiency. I would say that we should have gone full coil gun on that. Even though we would have been doing less of the damage, it's a 7% difference. Although, obviously, the new... Well, yeah, so that's going to be the thing. Like, damage to armor would go directly down to 50 in that case. But, I mean, as far as hull was concerned...
Hostile fleet rumbled.
Yeah, that's a question, actually. I suspect this will probably be a drawn-out affair as far as the invasions and whatnot are concerned, but the matter has been settled. Yeah, they're all corvettes that are coming in here, and looking at that strength, I mean, it's over 2k that we're up against. So in this case,
Away from enemy fleet.
I think we'll just do the surrender. And Zerite refugees fleeing from Prikikiti have arrived on the Vertimen Prime. Yeah, have they? Do not think this is the end. As long as there are rocks in the galaxy, there can be no true peace. The worst possible outcome. And that's the end. We have lost the war. Again, so this is what happens if you surrender to a group like that. So I don't know if this is what the screen looks like at 2500, but it does look like the game is carrying on. So let's see what we're up against. Obviously, they have just become super powered by taking us over. So there was the Associated Mirish Planets and the Kelzen Interstellar Nation. So I'm going to hit continue here just because it is kind of interesting to see the game play itself. So we were in a world with... Oh, that's right. When you do the outliner like this, you can't... Oh, here we go. All right, so we had fanatic militarists and spiritualists, so we might have been able to get along with these guys. These guys were authoritarian pacifists. Oh, you know what? If we didn't have these guys spawn, this would have actually been kind of a fun game to run around in. Because we actually had something. We had something in common with these guys, but not enough to. Not enough to make it like an obvious federation, but I think basically what's going to happen now, these guys with an advanced start are just going to take over half the galaxy and eventually wipe these guys out. Now I remember, do you get the console now? There's like a time-lapse option which will you can kind of advance the game even faster than this rate, but I think rather than subject you all to this, we will say a shame. But we're only a third of the way through the cast, so let's see, we can delete that save. It's tempting to go right back into Rhizome Capital, but no species creation. We'll go back with these guys, and we'll do the same settings. I mean, maybe I want to change the difficulty. I don't know. I feel like I've done Commodore before. The only thing I'll do is I usually just hammer the button until, I don't know, I will start reading a game box, and the first time I see the letter T, I will... Yep. And it is another ring world. Okay, so basically same settings as last time. I'm basically just going for default except for... Or maybe Commodore's default difficulty? I don't know. Anyways. Back again. In the aeons since the first primitive Zurite communities took shape in the idyllic valleys and lush forests of Zur, our civilization has spread and prospered. The vast world we call home has always been a paradise to our kind, and as our scientific knowledge progressed, we began to see patterns in the biosphere that could not be natural. Did some unknown entity create this world specifically for us? Are we playing a part in a greater design? Regardless of its origin, our people have thrived in the pleasant climate and gentle environment of our homeworld. Now, after the discovery of the first hyperlane network, the finest minds of the Divine Zurite Covenant have finished development of the first hyperdrives. The stars themselves are finally within our grasp. So again, for those of you who like the lore behind these guys, the idea is that it is truly a coincidence that the broadcast hit the planet at the time that these things became sentient. So even though it's a life-seeded species, it just happens to be that they are an incredibly fortunate species that has taken its incredible fortune as some kind of divine intervention. And for those of you who didn't see a start, we're xenophobes, we're pacifists, we're spiritualists, we're life-seeded, inward perfection. If you guys want any explanation as to what the... Actually, you know what? I can give the read... I'll give the game's account of what these are. Although clearly the way we interpret this is different from how the game might formulate it. So... The stakes could not be higher as we reach into this the vast uncharted spaces of the galaxy, for we are gambling with the very survival of our species. Never trust the alien, its false smile hides an unknowable mind. Hello, Sungif. Pacifist. Conflict as a means to an end is a ridiculous concept. It is by nature destructive, destroying what was to be obtained or giving room to grow that which was to be destroyed. Or, sorry, I think I read that wrong. It is by nature destructive, destroying what was to be obtained or giving room to grow that which was to be destroyed. I'm not sure that says what I think it's intended to say, but... Spiritualist. There are those who think it behooves us to remember how tiny we are, how pointless our lives are in this vast, uncaring universe. What nonsense! The only truth we can ever know is that of our own existence. The universe, in all its apparent glory, is but a dream that we all happen to share. Civics life-seeded? Oh, it doesn't actually say any background, so the society has evolved in a paradise possibly designed just for them. Again, I'm really leaning into the possibility on this. And this calm and pacifist society has little use for strangers who do not understand their way of life. More than anything, they would prefer to be left alone. So the effect of this, and this is, this wasn't intended this way, but the fact that federations are coming in, it's going to be a very interesting contrast to see how pacifism and just this style of play changes when the new game comes in. I've actually been meaning to play like a really militant or like Devouring Swarm or something like that. I don't know if I'll do that in the Federations DLC, but oh yes, and traits. So Gaia World Preference, that comes from Life Seeded. We're Lithoids, which means we have a slower growth speed but higher habitability, army health, and leader lifespan. That was thanks to Paradox being kind enough to give me a copy of the Species Pack. And Intelligent, we get an additional 10% to all of our different research types, as well as Talented. But we are Sedentary, which gives us a lower pop growth from immigration, and it costs more to resettle. I actually originally picked this as a little bit of a chance to mess around with the fact that I thought we weren't going to be moving people from the Gaia world. So this actually winds up having a cost, but I can live with this. Rocks are Sedentary. Okay, so what happens when you start a Stellaris game? Well, you need to pick what your... basically, there's two ways I like to approach new games like this. Now, it's, I've played Stellaris for a while, so it's not like there's a... it's not like I'm trying to figure this all out as I go along. Although with Paradox game, there's always room for learning. Incidentally, if you are new to the game, you can actually access the wiki directly inside the game. It's a little hidden now behind this More button, but there's a beginner's guide. I think the tutorial is perfectly passable. They actually are taking the time to update it with the changes in mechanics. But if there's a concept that you are struggling with, or if you're working, like if you're trying to figure out where to go, I personally enjoy playing the game where I don't look at what the anomalies do. I have done a little bit of modding, so I know a few more of the anomalies than I've actually encountered, although I've encountered most of them through play. But one of the best ways of working with this, in my opinion, is to basically have a conversation with the game. So you can encounter something which maybe you don't understand particularly well. So for instance, one of the things I'm trying to focus on here is the types of ships that I build. If there's something that you don't understand, going to the wiki and seeing how it's described and seeing how that fits in terms of your overall plans, I think is a really wonderful way of learning this game. The trade-off that you make when you get into a Paradox Development Studio game, and I would argue even the games that they publish, is that there is a steeper learning curve which seems borderline unfriendly for some games. But in exchange for that, you are going to get literally hundreds, if not thousands of hours of enjoyment out of the game. It asks a lot of you to going in, but it comes in it pays back in terms of the just the different experiences you have. And I mean, the fact that they patch it so much and they continue to update it is kind of an example in terms of why the game is that way. So let's just take a quick peek at Federations while I'm at it. So this does not have a release date yet, but it is a full expansion. So expanded Federations. With expanded diplomacy capabilities, players can build up the internal cohesion of their federation and unlock powerful rewards for all members. Whether you join a trade league, a martial alliance, or hegemony, membership can be extremely advantageous. Galactic Community, unite the space empires with Galactic Senate that can vote on a wide range of resolutions to drive legislative agendas. For example, players can pass a resolution to increase commitments to collective defense or funnel profit towards wealthy elites. Members can also sanction those who defy the community and enact a single galactic focus. Sway the Senate to position yourself as a leader, trading favors and maneuvering, doing whatever it takes to gain influence among schemers. Origins. This is going to be really interesting. Each empire has a story that shapes its path. Give your civilization deeper roots with the new system of origins. By choosing an origin, players can flesh out their empire's background and alter its starting conditions. Whether it's void dwellers who have abandoned their homeworld to live in perpetual orbit, or a society that worships and protects a powerful tree of life, you can lay the groundwork wisely for the seeds of your empire. And new constructions. Construct glorious new projects for your empire like the Juggernaut, a massive mobile starbase that provides a movable repair base even in enemy territory. Or the Mega Shipyard, a new mega structure that can churn out fleets with incredible speed. Offering both tactical advantages and a good dose of shock and or awe, they are sure to be an asset to any space empire. And I don't read them personally, but for those of you who are interested, there are the developer diaries, and these can be very educational in terms of what's coming up. The only reason I don't read them is I really like the process of discovery. So, anyways, my personal choice is usually to go technology first. So there's kind of two ways that you can make your way inside of a Stellaris game, and that is to focus on what the game tells you is an immediate concern with the alerts, or you can go through your outliner. This is where we are in the galaxy. Doesn't really mean a whole lot because it's a small ring, but let's start with our science options. So, the cheapest option is quantum theory. We don't really have much by way of researchers, but I think this makes the most sense in terms of computing. Also, it's worth taking a look here at my scientists. So I've got a couple of resilient scientists. So what I'm going to be doing is switching out my scientists. I want to get these guys out of the lab and into ships as quickly as possible. Hopefully we'll be getting some people with a little bit better skill. This guy has better anomaly research speed, so certainly we want to keep him or her. It's kind of hard to tell with the rock people. Definitely we want to keep them on the science ship, but I'm going to try and build 3 if I can. Okay, ground defense planning is more expensive, and I don't really need the soldiers yet. So the thing to keep in mind here, it's not that ground defense planning is useless. The fact that they've added, I actually think with Megacorps, when they added strongholds to give you a naval benefit, I rather liked that because it's kind of funny to have just like a pure navy and no investment whatsoever in the army. Obviously, in history, there have been great naval powers, but it's not like they didn't have an army to back it up. You kind of need to have the balance between both, but certainly in terms of Stellaris, it is a naval game. The army bit is the one that people tend to say needs a little more development. Oh, sorry. I was talking about the dev diaries. The reason you want to read those, at least the older ones, Wiz, who used to be the kind of the lead on this sort of stuff, talked a little bit about some of the different things that they had planned for the future. And most of those predictions have kind of come true. The one thing that they've mentioned, that he mentioned in that discussion, which didn't or hasn't been realized in the game yet, is an espionage system. So at some point, and who knows, maybe they'll take some of the ideas from the Resistance DLC for Hearts of Iron 4. But my guess would be a few DLC from now, you might see some developments along those lines. But again, that's all speculation on my part. I'm sure there are far more informed people that you can watch for the lowdown on what's happening with Stellaris. So, let's say that the idea here, to get the real benefits from the ground defense planning, I'm going to need to dedicate my workforce towards a stronghold, and that I just can't afford that right now. So in addition to losing out on whatever the points for science would be, I just don't gain the benefit from it. So it's not a never research, it's just a let's not research it quite now. Planetary unification is the most tempting one because the additional unity is really helpful. Obviously with Spiritualist I have an edge on that already, and then I can... the reason why I wanted to go granular on this is to go through the difference. Why would I not pick biodiversity studies if I've already said quantum theory is what I want, right? It's the equivalent 20% bonus for research. It's going to give me the same bonus that that this physics one did, but I'm going to get it faster because I've got a maniac researching it. And in this case, the cost to it is the number of months basically the number of months between this, researching this, and getting this researched again. And it may not be the next card that I draw, so I may not even have the option of researching this next time around. Because it's 2 unity a month, you count that many months that I don't have this, multiply that by 2, and then realize that this is the least it will cost me to get traditions. So that is an incredibly costly 20% at the point where I have the smallest number of researchers. So generally, and this is true for just about every kind of game like this, percent-based bonuses make a lot of sense when you have lots of infrastructure to support that. If I had a ton of researchers running around, if I had a bunch of planets churning out research, this is a great bonus. What I have by way of research right now, I've got 2 rocks in a lab. Now, they're generating a respectable amount. I mean, I'm effectively getting a little less than 2 research out of that bonus. But compare that to a fixed 2, not a percentage of my amount, but basically, like, one of the ways you could think about this, if I get, it's not a fixed cost of 300. Essentially, I'm reducing the time it takes me to get my next tradition, and of course those traditions could go into feeding my technological edge, and so I recover the benefits from biodiversity studies by simply investing in the discovery tree, and I get those benefits at a time that I have more researchers, and so the force multiplier comes at the time when I actually have more people to realize it. So that's kind of the type of thinking that I do when I go through these cards. Again, it's a first turn kind of decision. There's no reason to unpack it in that kind of detail. But I always know when I start a new Stellaris game, it's one of those rare chances for people who haven't seen the game or haven't played the game yet to learn these sorts of things, and this is how I try and make sense of the decisions that I'm given. I don't necessarily know, like, the first time I played the game, I didn't necessarily know what these things did. There definitely wasn't unity in the game when I first played it. But to be able to just sort of understand these things as trade-offs, to say, well, how many researchers do I really have right now? Maybe to go for the fixed bonus would be better. These are the types of things that I pick. Also, it unlocks the administrative path, so there's other benefits for it too. All right, we won't go as deep into engineering here, but we've got 2 which are a little bit more expensive, and then we've got which is a percent-based bonus towards mining station output. So honestly, none of these are really great. There's 2 reasons I'm going to pick 0G refineries here. I will probably be getting quite a few mining stations. But on top of that, I'm also going to want to build some ships. And if I add the ceramo metal materials at the start, the drawback there is that I'm going to have more expensive ships at the time that I'm building up my navy. And the idea here is just having ships present is better than the incremental benefit I'll get from the armor. So in this case, 0G refineries, one, because it takes a shorter period of time to research, but also because I'm able to I'm able to sort of realize my naval ambitions. Now, I do want to get another science ship going, so normally I would just build it right away. The catch is that in order to fly that ship around, I also need to hire a leader, and we don't have anybody who's eager. Although we do have another maniacal one. Oh, who is that? Cthulhu Collector. Thank you very much for the 10 bits. Good to see you. I want to say again, I'm pretty sure I've seen you before. I'm going to feel really bad about not fully realizing it, but I'm trying to remember if it was Cultist Simulator that you first visited on, or it was another game. I actually don't remember the game that you visited on. That's really bad, isn't that? I'm sorry. Oh, it's the first time here. Okay, my bad. Then I don't feel so bad about it. Anyways, I'm definitely going to want either the Maniacal or the Industry character. Maniacal is kind of nice because it's a flat 5%. There's also a small bonus that they get towards rare technologies. But the reason why I don't want... So the thing to keep in mind is that I've got 100 alloys, 100 energy, 300 minerals to work with right now. So if I build a science ship, it means I can't build the Corvette, or it means I can't extend my borders. So again, it's all about trade-offs. We want to make sure that we're spending the things on sort of the construction that will give us the biggest advantage. So we are spiritual. So in this case, it kind of makes sense to build the temple. So that's 180 minerals taken care of. Simple constructs erected since time immemorial. Temples are places of quiet contemplation and communion with that which unites us all. Of course, we also did say that we're building cathedrals to Gospel John, so you kind of have to do that. We'll also pick the construction ship. So let's just figure out what we're doing with our minerals right away. I can build one thing, and in this case, it makes sense to go to Nori. Now, you might think that, hey, you do kind of need an early science advantage in games like this, and that's true. But remember what I said about the science ship. So we can't actually take advantage of the science ship until we have a new scientist. So we're generating 5 energy credits a month. We need 200 to recruit them. So that effectively means, excuse me, we're waiting 20 months. We're waiting over a year before we're going to be able to recruit the scientist. And the rate at which we'll be acquiring energy credits will go down as we support these other buildings. So I want to get Nori for 2 reasons. 1, to improve the rate at which I'm gaining energy, but also 2, it will allow me to build these extensions without affecting my ability to sort of keep on track for getting that extra scientist. And so that's the reason why I'm going in this particular order, and why, again, yes, I always want more science, and obviously it's a fixed amount, so it has the same benefits as that Unity building that I was talking about. But I do want to keep conscious in terms of what kind of infrastructure I have, and one of the higher priorities right now is to get those science ships out. Now, given the fact that we know that we're going to be waiting 20 months, another interesting question is it worth it for me to wait to build anything else? So we're generating 10 alloys a month. How long does it take to, how long is it going to take me to get the 100 for the science ship? Well, in that case, that's 10 months waiting on alloys. So in this case, it makes as much sense for me to build the Corvette. Oh. Of course, I'm talking about how important science ships are. I actually need to give my other one orders. So there's really no obvious path for me to take. It's reasonably defensible where I am already, but I'm just trying to think about how I would... I think I'm going to do something I wouldn't normally have gone this way. And it's going to be a bit of a roundabout route, but I'm going to follow this path. And the argument is this: there is a possibility that this is the only pathway to all of these systems, and I include this one. If so, this is a great place for a defensive structure, because then I don't need to worry about any other star bases unless I get bonuses. Then I can focus on building my remaining star bases on the right-hand side. So if there's a chance that this winds up closing off a whole bunch of territory I might take, I really want to get that information right away. Now, if that doesn't happen, too bad. We can reconsider where we're going. But in terms of just trying to pick the first move for my science ship, I think that's the one that will give me the most valuable intelligence at the moment. Do you usually go with the building first? You usually build the mining stations first. Yep. So there's the motivations for the building first was to basically leverage the Unity bonus that I'd be getting from the temple. Obviously, we're not getting it right away. But in terms of building the station, we had enough left over to build the energy, the energy extractor. So in terms of the first benefit that I'm going to be getting, I'm going to be getting that energy. I'm getting the energy as fast as I would have. But the real benefit that I see towards it is that I'm able to get that extra energy in order to... Oh, and it looks like we have a much higher energy income than I thought we did. That's a shame. I would not have built the... Let's get that refund. But yeah, basically I want to get the energy benefit towards the scientist as early as possible. As it turns out, our rate is much higher than I thought it was, so it's probably a moot point here, but that's kind of my justification for it. And I mean, I certainly have room to learn, but my reasoning here is largely I tend to like getting the advantage of the buildings as early as possible. Every time that one becomes available, I pretty much build it. So now everybody gets mad at me every time I do these challenging ones right away, but I can't resist. So an ancient orbital shipyard drifts in silence above this world. It has suffered significant battle damage and entire sections of the facility are missing. So we'll research that. Again, let's put our exploration on hold for a while, but Yeah, so I think what happens is that it's probably not realizing the contribution of production from the planet, and so unpausing actually turns it over. It actually gives you your acquisition. So when you get when you get the turnover in terms of your planet's production, it actually reflects. So essentially, I think the numbers you get are the numbers for you not having any industry, but you start with industry. So, but yeah, one way or the other, I'm still getting the advantages. I might have gone for the minerals. I mean, certainly it's nice to have lots of minerals, but I'm already generating 31, and I don't know. 3 science is nice to start with. I also think we're going to be waiting a while in this system anyway, because we're not going to have anything to extend to. So, as far as traditions, I think I'm still going to try that approach. I know nobody likes it when I do this, but I think I'm still going to try going for expansion early. There might be something that happens that makes me change my mind on that, but I was reasonably happy with how that... So it wasn't expansion that killed us last game. It was just that unlucky placement to an enemy I couldn't possibly have overcome, no matter how good I'm not good at the game, but I need to get this science ship built. So again, we're going to be getting... Actually, yeah, we're going to pull over next month. So I should have built that 2 months ago. Also, apologies. Excuse me. I haven't had dinner, so... And I had a sandwich for lunch, so I'm a bit hungry, but I will try not to let it drag down the cast too much. Okay. So that's the temple sorted. I'm curious if they should put priests in right away. Yep. So obviously I'm a big fan of the early Unity.
Construction complete.
Okay. So I'm gonna rearrange things a little bit. Let's go for... I'm gonna take my engineer first, and it's less about me getting the advantage for the engineering, and it's more about putting the younger guy on the science ship. So Maniac goes in, and then when I get the opportunity, we'll send in another guy. Now, it might make sense for me to send another one off to the left, but in this case here, I'm just going to go and examine all these areas. Again, it's a little bit of a tough call in terms of what pattern I want to follow. In this case, I think I'm going to do... This is kind of a nonsense path, but... actually, it's not as bad as I thought. Yeah, no, we'll branch out, and then the third ship. I think what I'll do is I'll get the third ship to kind of clear out the gaps that are left from the other 2 explorers, and then we'll get them to look around here. And again, all of this is subject to change. If I see a better opportunity, I'll take it, but it's the start of the game. It's not exactly a make or break decision. I am going to be able to afford that shiny new Corvette, though. Oh yeah, no, I like questions. So I don't actually remember what the default is. We're on Commodore right now, which was supposed to be an easier time, but we did get clobbered last time, so maybe I'm just bad at the game. One of the things I'm trying to do this time around is get a bit of a better grip on the ship designer. Normally I let the AI take care of things for me, and I feel like the only way I'm really going to be able to learn it is to force myself in situations where if I go with default options, the game will beat me. And so I'm trying to create some situations in which I need to be more thoughtful about the types of ships that I do. I think the standard setting is Ensign. Commodore is up there. Oh, okay, well, now I don't feel so bad about losing losing. I will also say too, I think this is a rather well-known phenomena, but for those of you who are streamers, I think you can all relate to the idea that when you, I mean, this sounds like I'm making it up, but I've actually tried to estimate this, and my personal evaluation is that when I am broadcasting with like the interaction with chat and being a little self-conscious about the fact that people are watching in that, I kind of estimate that the skill drop from broadcasting a game, unless you're completely ignoring chat, is basically about a level and a half. So that makes XCOM very interesting, but Captain is normal? Okay. So now I feel a little bit more ashamed, but that's fine. I mean, nobody watches me for the skill anyway. So you kind of already know what I'm going to pick here, but one of the things, so I don't necessarily consider myself an educational streamer or YouTuber or anything like that. But I do think that there is some value both for myself and for people who might be new to the game. Again, it's not just that you pick a random button, and it's not... the other thing that's really wonderful about Paradox games is if you just start thinking that you've got the formula, like every time I play Europa Universalis 4, I always play Holland. I literally play nothing else. I hate the fact that I say literally more than I do, but when I say literally, I mean literally. I do not play any other areas. I do not play any other countries but Holland for I think the past year. Actually, I don't know what's wrong with me. But you notice the patches when you become that comfortable. So one of the things that's really nice, even if you sort of think you know everything about the game, especially in between patches, it doesn't hurt to sort of check your reasoning. So again, what are we looking at here? Well, we've got expansion, and the first thing would be colony development speed increased by 25%. Now, I was originally not going to go through this the last time that we played because I didn't think that I would be colonizing. But the fact that the Lithoids actually get a bonus towards colonization efforts means that my life-seeded penalty isn't as strong as it was. Leap from planet tiles up. Yes, God, that was... and I mean, on top of that, they changed the economy from like just all raw goods to refined goods. So in addition to the fact that you're managing pops, you also have a different set of priorities. You're no longer kind of maximizing minerals and whatnot. So I am actually tempted again to go for Reach for the Stars, and kind of what I'm trying to do here is it's a weird kind of specialization where Zerv is going to be the only place where people are at maximum capacity, so all the research and whatnot will happen there. But that doesn't mean that sort of the colony worlds don't have use. It's just like fill them up with things that don't necessarily produce... don't necessarily produce goods, or at least goods that I'm willing to produce at like a lower rate. So these can be sort of factory worlds that wind up giving consumer goods because in the end, I just want enough to maintain. I don't necessarily want a surplus. So in this case, where I normally would say if I'm playing, the life-seeded inward perfection group, expansion wouldn't necessarily be my first choice. Here, getting some bonuses to things like starbase influence cost, colony development speed, additional pops and whatnot, there's actually a little bit of an argument for it. Domination doesn't make sense at the start. I mean, clear blocker cost is nice. There's actually a particular thing about the Lithoids that makes this attractive, which is the Lithoid monoliths. So these cost 750... Wait, why is it 750? Oh, because I've got an environmental engineer. Wow, that's a really strong start then for the governor. So normally these things cost 1,000. And every time you do it, basically, this is where your rock people, the Lithoids, looking at the mountains and saying, "Brothers!" and digging them out. So you get an extra pop if you spend that. If you spend those minerals, and of course, minerals you wind up having a really big surplus for. So the earlier you can get these, the earlier you have people working your tiles, and of course, the more production you get, it's virtuous. So this is a little bit of a priority. This is actually the main reason you would potentially want to go for domination. But obviously we're pacifists when we're not near anybody, so all the other bonuses are not necessarily all that good. It kept tanking your economy. You do like 5 pop boosts that Yeah. Those are great, and especially too because like I don't really complain about this game a lot, but the one thing that kind of irked me was how minerals felt so useless. They went from being like the thing you always wanted to the thing that you always had too much of just through naturally playing the game. Prosperity, I mean, again, we talked a little bit about percent-based bonuses. Fixed numbers are better early on in a game. And that's true for any game. That's true for, MOBAs or 4X strategy games. Building up keep and all of this stuff. I mean, again, if you kind of just take a look at what the tree gives you, this is a nice one to have. It's really hard to argue for. It's really hard to argue for as a first choice. In fact, the only other one that I really consider, because we don't need to go through all of this, is discovery. Anomaly research speed of plus 20%, that's really strong at the start because, of course, every time you're looking at an anomaly, you're not looking at new planets. And, of course, you want to look at new planets so that you can have expansion options, also so that you can plan a little bit better. On top of that, the next one, To Boldly Go, will increase your survey speed by 35%. Thank you very much for the follow there, Cthulhu Collector. After that, you get a bonus to your research stations. Again, it's a 10% bonus, so this is one of these things where you actually kind of need to have the infrastructure to really get the bonus from it. And again, research stations, so these are the things that you're building in space, which means it'll cost you energy. And then the next line down here, research alternatives, again, a good one to have because it lets you guide your paths a little bit more. Experience gain is nice, and of course, because the lithoids are longer lived, you kind of reap those benefits over a longer period of time. And then finally, pops working with research have their upkeep reduced by 20%. So this is a really good one to have early on. In this case here, though, the argument I am going to make is that expansion is going to give me the hands to justify a later selection of discovery. We'll see if it works. If it doesn't turn out, that's just a lesson that we learn. But that's going to be what I work with for now, which means that obviously I'm also committing to trying to get a colony sooner rather than later. And again, I'm sorry to be so granular on all of this, but one of the things that is very nice about playing this way, in addition to the fact that it's just it's me playing to whatever strengths I have as a caster. It keeps me honest, because if you say to the world, this is the reason why I am doing, X thing, you can't turn around and have like random events that turned to your advantage and say, I meant to do that. You're kind of on the record.
Construction complete.
All right, so this guy has to park for a little bit. Now, this is a bit of a shame because obviously you want to have all of the resources of your empire working at full capacity. And we're back to a point where we're a bit short on energy credits, although I have a feeling that's because I don't have people working the energy generator. No, it's not. Interesting. Oh, this is interesting. I haven't had an early arrival. Zur is in an uproar following the news of unidentified ships sighted in the void. Their intentions are unknown. It would be prudent to assume the worst. I think these people are going to drop something on us. Worrying. Automated shipyard. While conducting their survey of Fatis II, the ISS Ikrazine detected the remains of an automated shipyard in orbit. It is at least 1,000 years old, and it seems to have been subjected to heavy missile barrage, but one of its manufacturing bays is still in working condition. Science Officer Bosch Seen is confident that power can be restored to the shipyard, but it would be a significant project.
Situation log updated.
All right, what are we looking at here? Well, right around the time that I thought my construction ship was going to be idle, we get a research project for it. So that was, the game giveth and the game taketh away. Oh God, it's hideous! The Racket Industrial Enterprise. Zurite, we greet you. We are operators of Racket Industrial Enterprise, a member of the Caravanserai Caravan Coalition. We travel the stars. Our eyes catch all that glows. We gather and we trade. We pass through your space in peace, only to buy, to sell. We will offer you good deals, many things. We will speak again before we leave. Should you call us, the Caravanserai Coalition will answer. Greetings, Caravaners. Rust? What rust? Oh, that rust. Just scrape it off. Scrape, scrape, scrape. It's good as new. What can you offer us? Look, this alloy, the weight, the luster, the glow. Have you ever seen such metallic bonding? Incredible yield strength, maximum grade, nominal impurities. We can feel it. It calls to you. So we don't have 55 rare crystals, and there is absolutely no way I'm going to have them in time. So we'll say, not right now. Can you get back to us later? Although I don't think they will come back to us with an offer we can accept. Then we shall call you again before making our leave of your space, but we may alter the deal. All right. I am obviously far away from getting another captain, so we'll just knock out another corvette. As far as Zura is concerned, it is kind of tempting to invest in the generator district right away, but I am going to see maybe if we can get away with freeing up one of the lithoids. I'm not going to rush it, but we're in a decent shape. What I really do whenever I look at these planets is I see, do we have enough to get us to the next locked building? And in this particular case, I might even wind up building another alloy foundry. We've got the temple, we've got sort of one of everything that we need. I want to make sure I've got science, I want to make sure I've got enough civilian industries to cover me. But it's more likely that I'm going to be wanting to build a lot of ships. And alloys are one of these things that I always feel like I don't have enough of at any given moment. Now, of course, the other catch is that if I want to build a colony ship, I'm going to need the minerals, I'm going to need the alloys, so on and so forth. But not interested. Mysterious Ruins. I don't think I've seen this one before. By 3 contains the remains of an ancient abandoned colony. From orbit, there are no obvious signs of a disaster which would have killed the inhabitants or compelled them to flee. If we want answers, an expedition to the surface would be required. All right. So that... Oh, yeah. See, this was the big mistake. I don't mind...
System survey complete.
I don't mind that I do the survey. I do mind that I do the survey, or that I surveyed this site and not this site. I should have gone like this. Okay. So after this guy is done repairing the automated shipyard, we will build a new... Is this another caravan? Okay. I think I'll build out the extension. I mean, it's going to be 2 energy, so this is basically just going to be an extension that covers its costs, but don't really have much as far as options are concerned there. So, apologies for the blighted presence in the universe, Zurites. Or sorry, for our blighted presence in the universe, Zurites. We are the Numistic Order, humble merchants serving Numa, the goddess of fortune. Cast out from the heavens for our greed, we have forsaken all earthly possessions. Our fleets travel divine currents of cosmic energy wherever the winds of fortune take us, bringing new deals every time we enter your lands. For a modest donation, the wonders of the universe could be yours. All transactions and credits, please. Greetings. Many wondrous things pass through our hands, yet we never line our pockets. It is the sacrifice we make so that the construction of the Tessar Travel is completed and our children may one day see the Holy Land again. Show us your wares. By the gilding hand of Numa, we have come across these ancient artifacts that have been very inspiring for our meditations. The thought of parting with them causes, of course, pains us, but we feel that you Zurites could learn much by studying them. They are made of some we are in need of some advanced materials, so perhaps a deal could be made. As always, if you need time to consider, we can notify you before we depart your territory, giving you one more chance to accept the goddess's generous offer. So this would be 300 alloys in exchange for 5 artifacts. That is not a deal I would ever take. I mean, don't get me wrong, the artifacts are cool and all, but 300 alloys? That's a lot. I think it's actually only the dwarf playthrough has been a situation where I felt we had more alloys than we knew what to do with. Alright, this is good news here. So we've got 2 desert worlds, but this is a size 22, so clearly my expansion plans, I'm inclined more towards the left. And even more so now that we've got a 540 timed event. So the buy has detected faint traces of weapon radiation indicative of a military spacecraft originating from Bai. Or possibly Baij? Who knows? Caravaneers, old with defects. Our starbase in the Zerv system reports that the Winds of Fortune fleet has evacuated and abandoned a decrepit ship, now in unstable orbit around the system's central star. One man's trash, or let the sun swallow it. Nope, one man's trash.
Situation log updated.
Okay, so this is a timed project with a construction ship. So I would normally want to... So normally I would want to expand the borders as quickly as I can, but again, the cost of a starbase... Admittedly, this is an upgraded one. Where is the... Oh, I could be wrong on this. I always thought that a new starbase for territory cost you 2. But yeah, I was under the impression that this is basically going to... Effectively what this is a sink on my administrative cap. Yeah, I'm a little more inclined towards doing the research projects before expanding out. And of course, you know, the longer I wait for the extra tradition, the less it'll cost me in terms of influence. So it's not the worst thing in the world.
Complete.
The ISS Palophorot Gather, again, bad at the pronunciation, has successfully restored power to the automated shipyard over Fatis 2. The facility immediately resumed its interrupted construction order, using what materials it had on hand to build 3 advanced raiders of an unknown design. Unfortunately, the ancient facility broke down completely afterwards and has been deemed beyond repair. We've sent crews to the new ships and commissioned them into the fleet. So, obviously, I'm happy to get a little extra... military capacity, especially given the fact that these things are about twice as strong as my existing ships. They won't be for long, but, you know, it's in some ways actually this is slightly better than getting the Herald, that Titan, at the very start, because the Titan actually costs you something to maintain. These guys, they're all right. Okay, so... Although it looks like I am in an energy credit deficit without a really good path for getting out of it. So, influence cost or new colonies. Normally I would have gone for colonization fever, but in this particular case, I think I'll do reach for the stars. The 10% decrease in cost isn't that huge, although the costs for see, this is one of these cases where a percent bonus is one that will kind of stay the same no matter what. Your costs are fixed. I think what this is intended to do is sort of offset the cost of jumping over a section, but I really don't like breaking up my borders like that, so I never take advantage of it. So anyways, the frontiers of a star nation are being pushed ever forward. Soon, nothing in this galaxy will lie beyond our grasp. So it'll delay me on colonization fever, but the reality is it's going to take me a while to get that colony ship built. So I might as well get a bit of a surplus of influence, and I might be able to enact some policies that will help me out as far as my my energy situation is concerned. Moving right along, I will... Will I? Oh, let's pause. How long is it going to take him to... You know, on the chance that this thing might actually have a surplus, I'm going to hold off on building the Corvette. And that's just so that I can... if this even just gives me 1 extra energy right now, that's doubling up my ability to earn money. Now the other question is, realistically, am I going to be able to get away with unleashing another Lithoid? Because that's not directly going to help me earn energy, but of course if I just build an energy building, that's not necessarily going to help me either, because I don't have the hands to work it. So at 33, I mean, it's like 3 months away, yeah. And then at growth rate, yeah, okay, so I mean, essentially we get at capacity in 3 months, and then that'll unlock the new building, at which point, you know, we invest in the generator districts. And I mean, we grow slow enough that I'll be able to build the generator district before people lose jobs. Or sorry, not lose jobs, but before people are unsure what to do with themselves. It'll be a little tricky just because I'm going to want to build a building which likely is like an alloy foundry or something like that. Okay, that's good news. It's more energy, but again, not necessarily one that that will pay for itself. I am, I mean, I am going to colonize these, but... Oh, we already got our 25. Okay. That makes things a little difficult then. Well, first thing...
Special project complete.
Old with defects, likely due to the vessel being a civilian transport, the shipboard databases were not fully scrubbed as part of the decommissioning process. So while nothing else of value was found aboard the ship, our data scientists have managed to recover partial references to unknown alien technologies. And exotic gas refining is really good, actually, because that'll help me with technology before too long. So we'll work with that. I am going to go for the lithoid monoliths again. The argument here is just it gives me more people to work tiles. So now my extra building slot. So my inclination usually is to go for the alloy foundries, just because again I always feel that I'm short on the resources I need. Bioreactor's no good because I'm not going to be generating food. No, I'm not going to do civilian industries because we already have a surplus, and that's what these sort of colony planets are going to be for. I don't need amenities, and if I did, I'd get them through housing. Unity is nice, but this is going to cost me consumer good. This is an expensive way to generate Unity compared to the temple, which is, I mean, I don't think you have the resources to build it at the start of the game anyway. Luxury residences, again, in this case, we don't need the housing and the amenities. Oh, my construction ship is idle. I should have taken care of that. Precinct houses, we don't have a crime problem. Now, that doesn't mean you don't do that at all, because they do also produce Unity and they spawn defensive armies. But I would argue if I wanted Unity, the Hollow Theater would be better. Research labs are very tempting. And in this case, this is a situation where I would normally be inclined towards consumer goods using up consumer goods as opposed to generating the Unity through taking up the consumer goods. We don't need the resource silo. We need resources, not resource silos. And the stronghold is not a bad choice because of the additional naval capacity. But of course, the reality of the situation is I don't really need any of these bonuses right now. The one thing, again, that I'm always going to say I don't have enough of, and the one thing that I'm always going to want, the one thing that I'm going to want constantly throughout the game, in addition to the thing that will allow me to do additional expansion, is the alloy foundry. So Unity is nice. Unity will give me nice things, but Unity will not make it any faster to generate a colony ship. The colony ship will still need alloys, and of course, once I have colonies, they will need defense. And so I'm actually totally fine with building an additional alloy foundry at the start. The trick on this one, again, I tend to think in terms of 5. So what we're basically going to need is an additional 2 jobs. So we get 2 metallurgist jobs, and then we build a generator district. And that's basically going to be the pattern that we follow. We do something like an alloy foundry or equivalent. It'd probably be, my guess will be we do like an alloy foundry and then a research lab. I might wind up doing the stronghold, but I really want to, like, strongholds are ideal for these planets because I think they're, I don't think they're affected by the output problems. Like, I don't see naval capacity as being a production thing. Okay, so first thing I want to find out is what do these things cost in terms of energy? They are just 1. Okay, so we do actually get a net improvement. I've not really... I did change it the first time it was introduced. Actually, there are some policies I do need to change, though. So for those of you who are not familiar with what Cthulhu Collector's talking about, you have a number of policies that you can set. So in this case, war philosophy, we don't get unrestricted wars because we're pacifists. Orbital bombardment, we can't do indiscriminate, again, because we're pacifists. We can allow resettlement or we can prohibit it. Now, I am slow movers, but I don't really... The thing that's weird about this one for me is that I don't think I will be penalized for it. I think there are some societies where you get a penalty for the resettlement policy, but right now this is an advantage for me. We have to have peaceful first contact because we're pacifists, we're xenophobes, so we don't have to have closed borders, but we'll start off that way. Oh yes, I did want nutritional plentitude, so that was one. Now this is going to hit me in terms of minerals, but I'm actually okay with that. So do you want to change your food policy from nutritional plenitude within our empire? We'll not be able to change our stance for 10 years. The policy will have these effects. It is the fundamental right of each of our citizens to enter hibernation with a full digestive organ. Easy access to plentiful nutritional fare will be the fuel that spurs our growth among the stars. So food upkeep, mineral upkeep, plus 25%. Obviously, minerals are our food. Biological pop happiness plus 5%, lithoid pop happiness plus 5%, and pop growth speed 10%. So again, the idea here being that we want as many hands working as many tiles as we can. I might want to reconsider that just because we aren't actually finding that many minerals, but for now I'll work with it. So the one that Cthulhu Collector was talking about here is we're currently in a mixed economy. So to commit ourselves fully to either war or peace is to restrict ourselves to a narrow view. We must be ready for whatever the future may hold. So if we go civilian colony, we get additional consumer goods from jobs. So that's 15%, and alloys from jobs minus 25%. Actually, now that I think of it, I see the point that you're making now because of the way that I'm going to be building these civilian facts. So the trick with this normally has been that I have been in... Yes. The trick with me has normally been that I've been in some pretty severe deficits for consumer goods, and what they've ultimately translated into is an inability for me to build those buildings that I want so much. But in this case here, I'm actually going to have planets that are a little bit more dedicated towards the production of consumer goods. So in this case here, I actually think the alloy production is helpful. Generally, I'm not as fond of these moves because you are giving up 25% of something that you need for 15% of something that you also need. And I always get sad when I don't have consumer goods. Actually, here's the better way for me to put it to you this way. Because I tend to find the consequence of this shift is that it translates in alloy factories that I would have built but don't. I've usually gone for a mixed economy, but in this case here, a militarized economy for the pacifists is what I'm looking for. So to neglect our defense is to neglect our survival. Trinkets and baubles are scarce comfort when the enemy is battering down the gates. So we'll see how this goes. It's actually been a while since I've changed the economic policy. Trade policy is another one that will change things around a bit. So trade value turns into wealth. You can do consumer benefits. So in this case, you get less energy in exchange for consumer goods. This is actually a particularly good one if you find that you're buying a lot of consumer goods on the market, because that's a way you can sort of dodge the market fee. I haven't usually done it. And then there's Marketplace of Ideas, where you get some unity in exchange for energy credits. Now, again, we're short on energy credits. We also don't have much in terms of trade. Generally, I keep my trade policy on wealth creation, and that's just because energy credits allow you to do a lot of things. But I tend to find in these situations, it's very much it depends on what, in these situations, it depends on the circumstances. I don't think there are any useless options in this window, but there are, as you can see, there are ones that I normally don't consider. All right, we'll outlaw the robot workers. This is partly just because we know that a faction is going to be coming up that wants that anyway. So the policy will have these effects. Robotic automatons are a threat not only to our people's livelihoods, but to the very fabric of society itself. We must not allow ourselves to be made obsolete. Now, of course, this is a shame because normally robotic pops are a great way to supplement your slow-growing species, but the rest of this... we'll say slavery is allowed, but I'll get rid of it if people get mad about it, and we're not purging anyone. So there's the policies. Policies. And then edicts, you can sort of spend stuff to have magic happen, but I am absolutely not choosing any of these.
Accretion complete.
Alien spacecraft. A badly damaged military vessel bearing elaborate alien insignia circles by. The ship has suffered a heavy incendiary attack which has melted its hull, leaving no survivors aboard. No weapons known to us today can produce temperatures high enough to cause such an effect. Perhaps the ship's log may shed some light on its violent end. Examine the logs. And that one is Yep, that's a science ship one, so. Incidentally, if you're curious about how I brought that to the top of the queue, that is Control-Shift and then run it. Also, so I sometimes get comments on this. The reason why I always do the right-click is it's a streaming thing. It is actually a little bit faster. You can pick these things and just left-click all the time, but I tend to find doing the menu is a more effective way to communicate intention, so. Okay, so now the question is, am I going to build a colony soon enough to make it worthwhile? I don't need the administrative capacity. We currently have 40, and we'd get an additional 20, but we're nowhere near expanding quickly enough, so that would be wasting our traditions. Our other alternative would be galactic ambition to see a reduction to the starbase upkeep. Now, there's a good argument for that because we are quite short on energy, but it is a percent-based one again. So what are we looking at in terms of station costs? It looks like we are spending 6. So, do we really want to give up the extra worker in order to be able to reduce our costs? Not really. I mean, I'd rather get the pop growth speed, so. Colonization fever seems to have gripped the populace. Their enthusiasm and patriotic fervor draws additional population to new colonies. I love that one. Good for 8 research. Which one were you referring to? Sorry, Cthulhu Collector. I think I saw that message a bit late. I think you were talking about policies. Or was it? Oh, wait, or maybe you're talking about alien logs. Anyways, I do need to keep an eye on my population here. We are, 3 a month? We're at 40. So, well, it's 3.5 a month. So, I want to be careful because it's also going to take me time to build the thing. I do still want to go heavy on the alloys though, because like I said, it's the thing that I always keep running out of. You can see the bite that the nutritional plenitude. Oh, god damn it! This is. This is not the thing that I want right now. An analysis of the ship's logs revealed that the crew met its demise when trying to retrieve an irreplaceable alien artifact called the Rubricator. It was stolen from their society by a pack of thieving rats. A curious choice of words, as they themselves are most rat-like in appearance. The logs are mainly comprised of curses willing the rat robbers to the end of the universe and beyond. The crew has counted upwards of 50 individual words for defecation, as well as a wide selection of places which the star's light cannot escape, but their arduous work has paid off. We have uncovered the last known location of the Rubricator, in a previously uncharted system, and if we are willing to believe its former owners, its powers are worth pursuing. Sure, I've never actually got to the end of this one because we've always gotten it so early, and we've always gotten so dead in response, but... Okay, we're getting back on track as far as energy is concerned. This system is a really tempting one to go for, but... So, the decision to move this guy to the left paid off because it does look like this gets blocked off. So there's a big argument here for me to stake out this territory right away. Again, I want the minerals. We are going to be colonizing this place, but a 22 desert world on top of the fact that it puts me one position away from a choke point, that's a little too good to pass up. Sniper Guy Gaming, thank you very much for that host. Sorry, I don't think I saw the message come up. Where was it? Yeah, but the rubricator also sometimes generates a dragon that eats me. Yeah. Hey, how are you doing? You generally don't explore the site until you know you can take the edit. Yeah, exactly. That's what I normally do. I mean, I know you can stop the excavation and whatnot, but I'm sure you've all noticed I tend to get quite distracted. So I usually consign people to death. But anyways. Oh, it always generates a dragon. Okay. Yeah. We briefly detected some unusual energy readings emanating from this planet. It might have been a glitch in our systems, or it could be a sign of something more. There is I think there's a side of me that wonders why I play Iron Man the first time new mechanics are added into the game, because obviously I get clobbered by certain events. But I don't know, it's a fun way to play. I am late on producing my science ship again, but we'll knock it out. We're a couple of months away from... Actually, you know what? I think we're just on time, because it takes 2 months to build a science ship. Play Iron Man for... Yeah, I mean, the other thing is that... So, XCOM Iron Man is a little bit harder for me to swallow. And part of it, I think, especially as far as the story is concerned, like, I think the implication that the commander is being held in the tank and having all of these simulations run through him is kind of a justification for the way that the game is made to sort of reload. And I mean, the fact that you have these fixed seeds, to me, I kind of think that the game benefits from the... I think the game benefits from the sort of reload style, because I mean, again, you get to see, you know, oh, what if I had made a different decision? I sometimes think that's a really rewarding way to play the game. But in the case of Stellaris, it's a little bit harder because you, like. To me, so much of the enjoyment is figuring out how you deal with the things that the world throws at you. Like, this game, in XCOM, if you lose, it's like a full kind of irredeemable loss. And the question is just whether or not it's fatal towards your playthrough. In the case of something like Stellaris, and I think Europa is the best example of this kind of this. You know, having a setback is just an opportunity for the even more strong reply. Like, it really does the pattern of sort of ups and downs a little bit better. So that's one of the reasons why I like playing Iron Man on these things, is that I sort of feel like there's definitely, like, the Space Dwarves one and the one that we just finished prematurely. Those are like the two where I've kind of felt it was hopeless. But even then, like, having an earlier save wouldn't have really... Well, I guess it would have affected the one where, like, the evil creatures came out. But yeah, I don't know. I feel like there's less of a benefit to going back and retrying things unless you're genuinely trying to learn how the game works. And at that point, I actually think it's a really good idea not to play on Iron Man mode, because you get a few more degrees of freedom. You're able to sort of mess around with different things and see how alternative decisions you would have made would have affected your playthrough. But I mean, again, you're only learning the game for so long. So anyways, we're going to do a small change in the research composition because Osimone is a maniac and dancing like he's never danced before. But no, for the main reason that I've got a specialist. So Elomin has a 15% bonus towards researching industry. So there's suddenly a big boost to the productivity. This will also boost my mining station output, which I believe does also apply to the energy. So generally positive. And then on top of that, it means that there's now a 5% bonus towards the physics research as well. So just a better allocation all around. Now, I think I said that this was going to be the one that dealt with the gaps. So we're going to start them off here. suppose we'll see what happens before I pick the next path, but they're probably going to wind up going in through this area. Hey, Roarmonger, how you doing? Hey, got this one last. It feels like we're going through all the same events as last time. I've always wondered if the events that you run into are affected by what kind of a civ you are. All right, we've traced the unusual electromagnetic radiation emanating from By 4 to a secret subterranean bunker hiding a mega computer the size of a battleship. Our researchers suspect that it may have been there for several thousand years, hard at work solving a very complex problem, the nature of which still eludes us. When the crew attempted to interact with the computer, they discovered that the facility, which had appeared both abandoned and unguarded, was in fact operated by a security AI, the highest purpose of which seems to have been frying visitors alive. As the crew defeated the AI, it broadcasted a message to an unknown recipient. So we can scrap it for parts. 100 alloys, not bad, and the crystals and motes are probably a little more attractive now than they would have been before, but I never really think this is the best option. Now, we can use it to boost our own research. This requires that we keep the AI maintaining the facility offline and will cause the computer to break down within the foreseeable future, so we get 10 years of 10% engineering research, or we can let it continue its mysterious calculations for a lot of influence. But I think we'll do boost our own research here. It's our way of exterminating an AI, but not really. Okay, we're 190 away. We'll definitely have this in time. So you've encountered some form of alien vessels in the Eulacia system. These strange objects have been flagged as the Delta Menace until we can learn more about them. We should proceed with caution, and this is a science ship. Friends? Alright, so this will take 16 months. What are we looking at here? I really want that Unity, so I'll let them talk to us. I believe we're leaving a bit of influence on the table with that, but that's life. We definitely need to grab this territory. I don't mind if they get this part of the funnel, but this is an absolute must. Eulacia 4, strategic resource discovered. During the survey of Eulacia 4, the ISS Icrazine discovered deposits of rare crystals. These crystals have properties that make them extremely effective at focusing laser beams, and they are also a critical component in most advanced electronics. In addition, many cultures treasure them as decorations and adornments. While we do not yet possess the means to extract this resource, we should seriously consider establishing control over the system for future exploitation. Yep, it is. So that's one of the reasons why, even though it wasn't necessarily the most, promising option, we sent a science ship out to the left there, pretty much immediately, to grab the, basically just to confirm whether or not this is the thing. Now, as it is, the Size 22 planet was a pretty decent motivator anyway. It's really tempting to take Chiblar. Well, how long is it going to be before this thing gets explored? I can probably build it in time, but I don't think I'm going to be able to get the energy in place. So I think I'm going to be patient on this one. Am I though? Yeah, it's just 3 planets. That's not this one. So unusual readings suggest. Nope, we're receiving a weak signal from the surface of this planet. The source appears to be some kind of tracking beacon. We'll leave it be for now, and I'm just going to add that to. So survey the system. Then we'll research the anomaly. And I think we'll still keep them on this path, but what are we looking at?
System geology chart.
The planetary body in Bi 6. This has been really good for anomalies. Appears to be covered in some manner of grayish substance, possessing strange properties and varying metallic composition. Do you think the 12 to 14 tile planets are worthwhile to colonize? Yeah, I mean, there's a number of factors that go into a planet other than... So, I mean, essentially... So...
Accretion complete.
Like, let's take a look at this one as an example. So there's no special resources on it. Like, this is a pretty generic planet, all told. The Cyberpunk 2077 cover of planets, if you will. But, so like, there's not a lot that screams, you need to colonize this place. If it had a dump truck of energy, like, so, here's the first thing you can imagine. Like, let's say we didn't have the minerals, let's say we didn't have the farms, and it was just energy here. This would actually be a really attractive planet all of a sudden, because I know I'm going to need the energy, and it's something that I can get the people to focus on. Again, worth keeping in mind, it's a desert world, so there's going to be a 25% penalty to production. But the other thing is, for planets like that, there's a number of different specialized buildings, which have nothing to do with resource production and just everything to do with really helpful bonuses that might be appropriate. So the better question is, does this thing fit inside of my overall plan? Is there a building I want to build that I can't get anywhere? Or maybe it has some desirable feature and you want it to just spin off a lot of Unity or something like that. There's a few different ways that you can motivate it. And then, of course, you can always just turn it into an ecumenopolis if you have the option. But yeah, I mean, pretty much anytime I get the words, please. Anytime I get a planet within my borders, I pretty much always colonize it. Right. What are you looking at? Oh, I hate you so much. I specifically said... Oh, no, he's investigating. Okay. I thought he was doing the anomaly project, and I was about to get very upset. Orbital telemetry shows a massive impact crater on the surface of Escala 2. It was not caused by a meteorite strike, as the crater is surprisingly deep in proportion to its diameter. In fact, the actual depth cannot yet be determined, as the shaft is choked by rock debris part of the way down, blocking any further orbital scans. It appears that a conventional excavation is the only way to find out what lies below. Okay. So let's pick a tradition next. So, in this situation, other than the fact that my minerals are a bit scarce, I think the pop growth speed still makes the most sense, because of course the way I get my... one of the ways I get out of these deficits, of course, is by having people building resources that I want. The other argument you can make is just, again, the opportunity cost one. So Starbase upkeep, I mean, it'll probably help me with my deficit. And then courier network would be wasting the tradition points. But in this case, I'm going to say a new life, one, because I really want to quote Blade Runner, and number two, because I am confident in my ability to manage my energy resources, though in the number of months I have is perhaps a more interesting and open question. So I might have to spend a little bit of money to reorganize. Anyways, a new life awaits our citizens on the off-world colonies, a chance to begin again in a golden land of opportunity and adventure. With the help of an aggressive marketing campaign, the less fortunate elements of our society will be flocking to our colony ships. So, of course, the fact that I don't have a colony down yet is an indicator that I probably didn't need to... I probably could have got the Starbase change the lower starbase upkeep one sooner. I can't remember. Do you need energy? No, you don't. Okay. So I need a minute to think this through. So right now there's a decent argument for building the colony ship because that gets people on the world. I mean, we are a bit dry on minerals in our area right now, so I'm not opposed to this being a mining colony. I would have hoped for energy, to be honest, but in a pinch we can do an agriculture district and generate energy. The only thing here is this is where the desert world, the habitability really hurts me here, because if you think about it, we get kind of taxed twice on that. We are 25% less on the farms. We're getting the penalty of converting that produce into energy. It isn't as efficient as just generating a generator district. And then on top of that, the district that actually makes the energy is going to have a 25% reduction. So it's definitely going to be a very inefficient way of generating it. But I mean, if the circumstances need it, you know, it's an option on the table. So I'm going to go against building the colony ship for two reasons. One, I am actually going to need... Well, actually, no, I would have enough minerals to be able to build the energy here. But even then, building the mining station is not going to get me past the -2 up here. The other thing that I might want to do is build a generator district here. Because, of course, we have available jobs. So we'll get on that right now because clearly we need some hands working on the tiles. We should be able to manage it, although I'm a little concerned once I get the starbase down. Oh, Plagas, sorry, I missed your message. I've been a little bad. I think this is the only the sandwich for lunch effect here. Great to see you. How are you doing? Stellaris is going well. We had the playthrough that we started with these guys. That one met an unfortunate end just due to my reckless decision in an anomaly which unleashed an overwhelming force which declared war on us, and you know, we put up an admirable fight where we could, but there was no way we were finishing that. By the way, I do notice there's a few new people here, so if you are curious about the species we're playing, every time we play Stellaris, you'll notice that I do take a bit of a ponderous pace for it, but it's mostly so I can sort of talk through my reasoning. But every time a new DLC comes out, we take at least an hour to come up with a proper species. So the story behind these guys, they are life-seeded inward perfectionists. And the story goes, the reading from Luke chapter 19 that Samuel Parks Cadman gave on the morning of November 10th, 1929 did not produce any significant remarks at the time, yet it is broadcast into space ever since. At exactly 11:13 local time, the broadcast reached the planet Zur. And they said to him, Master, rebuke thy disciples. And he answered and said unto them, I tell you that, if these should hold their peace, the stones would immediately cry out, was intoned across the planet, coinciding with the sudden achievement of sentience among the local Zurite clusters. The Zuratan populace have since built grand cathedrals to the creator Gospel Luke, and continue to meditate on its existence to this day. So, incidentally, Samuel Parks Cadman is a real person. They're the first person, I believe they're the first person considered to sort of be like I guess it'd be like a televangelist now, but they were sort of the first radio preacher. But I just really liked the idea of taking the life-seeded world and having it be a complete coincidence that this broadcast, you know, was in the vicinity of the planet at the time that these things became self-aware and they founded a religion around it. So I did free the prick lizards. But yeah, it's so yeah, that was a bit of an unfortunate end to that playthrough, but it just gave me a chance to play it here. It does mean we won't make a whole lot of progress by the time that I finish tonight, but that's fine. It just means we get a chance to get a fresh start. One of the challenges that I run into is if I commit myself to a particular plan and then the next time I play Stellaris, I I don't remember what it was. We're usually worse off for it. But Plaga says, glad you're doing well, Save, only eating a sandwich. And you're doing okay. It's been a busy day cleaning. Plus, you're about to learn some Stellaris from me. Oh, great. You got the game and struggled to learn it. That's a fantastic... Oh, I'm glad you like it. Actually, maybe what I'll do at the end of the cast, we'll go through memory lane and we'll take a look at some of the other species that I came up with. So... All right, a small short-range transmitter has been located on the surface of Eulacia 2. It appears to be an ancient survey marker placed here eons ago to mark a large deposit of precious metals. The miners it was meant for evidently never arrived, as the deposit is still here. So that's really welcome. So in addition to the fact that it's a great choke point, obviously our first priority is to get those precious, that precious energy. But this is now a much more, well, not much more. It is a more desirable system. Although that does mean that the anomaly was investigated, and I'm mad about that.
System survey complete.
Although I would expect that even, it looks like this guy's on his way back, I would expect that we should be able to finish the station. All right, research complete. This is what we were waiting for. So, a planetary unification. Ancient warring tribes, historical nations in conflict. Now, excuse me. I tried to eat a Skittle. That was a mistake. Historical nations in conflict, now unified in empire. We must not, will not crumble. I never checked out peace. So I don't normally do the edicts like peace festivals just because I tend to find the costs are a little too high relative to what I'm doing. And again, it's usually just because I'm always in a growth mode, but this might make sense to kind of help me out with some of my production woes when I start getting those other colonies. And then additional edicts, we'll just leave that. Okay, but we do get our 2 extra unity, which was the whole reason we went for that. And I'm probably going to go for the population growth speed. Again, one, because it's a relatively inexpensive one, but also it helps us overcome our slow growth as the Rockmen. So, but yeah, Plagus, because I know I'm probably not going to be doing a ton to enlighten you, did you have any specific questions? Because we're still fairly early on in our playthrough. We are playing our... Again, we are playing our rock people, so this is a bit of a unique playthrough. The specific civics and ethics that I went for were xenophobic, pacifist, spiritualist, so we get reductions to starbase influence costs, bonuses to population growth speed. Pacifist gives us higher administrative capacity, higher stability. Spiritualist will give us bonuses to unity and negatives to edict cost. If I seem a little unity happy, that's why. And then the civics we got were life-seeded, so we start on a size 25 Gaia world with rare planetary features. I haven't even pointed those out yet, actually. And then inward perfection is a weird one, so you can't have rivals, defensive pacts, migration treaties, research agreements, or commercial pacts. Basically, you can't do any of the diplomatic options. You get a 20% bonus to unity, so we're really, hammering the bonus there. Bonuses to pop growth speed. So again, that's more mitigating the traits that we have as a lithoid, and the pop happiness is a bit higher. So it's an odd one to do because the lithoids have a unique set of traits which tend to, in some cases, I think they really complement life-seeded. So they've got a 25% reduction to growth speed, 50% bonus to habitability, 50% bonus to army health, and 50 additional years for leader lifespan. So the habitability means that it's actually viable to colonize some of these other worlds. And needless to say, I've never played that way. So, but yeah. So we're going for something that's actually a very difficult start, which is usually passive. Well, okay, like inward perfection's not terrible, but like pacifist is generally a difficult one to make sense of. And we're kind of contending with the fact that we shouldn't be colonizing other planets, and I'm going against the game's wishes from doing so. So, anyways, communications established. We're receiving a transmission from the Mictor Confluence. They appear to have successfully translated our language. Diplomatic channels are now open, and all hostilities between us have ceased for the moment. Incidentally, those traits I picked weren't necessarily about, oh, we're not going to get along with these guys. those trains weren't necessarily picked as complements to the the specific features. I actually didn't know about the habitability for the lithoids. I just thought that fit the story I came up with rather well. So, anyways, you tried to build your first race after Mind Flayers of D&D lore. Actually, I should say, Plagus, one of the best ways to learn, in my opinion, is to start with one of the pre-built civilizations, because that generally Paradox is not going to screw around with the races. You don't really get hurt. And then what you do is you sort of focus on how the mechanics work, and then on your second playthrough you build your own race. But the thing is like building a race and coming up with a story is like, that's all the fun. So, initiating first contact protocol. We are the Mictor Confluence. Do not be alarmed by our non-organic nature. Like you, we are a fully sapient Class 3 civilization. We are willing to engage in diplomacy with any Zerite subunits you designate for this purpose. So they are an intelligent research link. So these are the nice robots. Machine intelligence leaders are immortal. Machine pops do not grow but are built. That's obviously with the new building mechanic. Oh man, actually I should try an AI suit just to see how it reacts with some of the changes. Excuse me. Okay, they're warbots and static research analysts. So this machine intelligence was originally created by organic scientists as a networked and intelligent tool to assist them in their research. So we say, "You walk the path of heresy, alien scum. Greetings to you and your odd kin, or new friends bring one closer to divinity." Let's say greetings to you and your odd kin. I'd love to hear it, Plagus, because I think like one of the things that I like about this game is the species portraits really recommend like certain like they tell stories, and I don't know, I just really like some of the ideas that they inspire. Whoever does the models for this they're very talented. All right, first alien encounter. The news that we have encountered intelligent life for the first time has shaken our society to the core. Leaked footage of these. I never realized that this thing flared. Or am I just going crazy? This thing did flare, right? Maybe I am going nuts. Leaked footage of these bizarre creatures is spreading through media outlets across the Divine Zerite Covenant, and many citizens have been gripped by panic. Rioting has been reported in several cities on Zur. The strange Xenos appear to have achieved a level of technology similar to our own, and they are clearly spacefaring. Whether they regard our great species with fear, hatred, or cold indifference is anyone's guess. Do I like the Lithoid portraits? Oh yeah, Melemony. Welcome. By the way, for those of you who don't know Melemony, I believe you stream Stellaris still. I know we've played Stellaris, but... By the way, did I shout out Sniper Guy Gaming? I think I said thank you, Sniper Guy Gaming, but I didn't actually... I think I actually gave this shout out. Anyways, okay, I'm sorry, I'm falling apart. Let's go from the start. Melemony, I'll show you my favorite Lithoid. I love them all, but... I think this is just fantastic. As Cthulhu Collector's pointing out, like the species benefits are really strong. Oh, sorry, not the species. You're talking about the AI. So, what was I going to say? Yeah, so I mean, you get habitation bonuses for them. I was a little surprised that they actually added mechanics inside of it, because I thought the balance that they struck already was enough. But anyways, let's see what these guys think of me. So, greetings, Zerite. We are currently impartial to your kind. They don't like me because of the closed borders and also because we're racist. And then there's the new contact. But the fact of the matter is, like, we're not going to get along with these people even if I open the borders, so we might as well keep them closed. And of course, we're going to kick them out of our territory. We're all equivalent, so that's good there. So again, we're not going to wind up with friends. Oh, man. Why didn't I get that system? Yeah, they got I feel like they got kind of the better start, but we did, I mean, we've kind of annexed a whole bunch of, well, once we build the base. Actually, depending on how this stuff collects together, we might wind up with another really nice choke point. So I should probably start dedicating a little bit more attention to that side, but... Anyways, yeah, I don't know. How do you feel about the lithoid portraits? You're the artist. All right. Sorry, I'm getting even less than I had planned done tonight. Yeah, that's not a surprise. Alert! The Microtran superintelligence. Sorry, it's the Microtran Mictoran superintelligence cannot see any benefit to continued Zuritan intrusions into Mictoran space. Therefore, effective immediately, our borders have been closed to the Divine Zerite Covenant. Alright. This guy's gonna need new orders, but I think we'll just wait it out. I like them. Lots of variation for rocks.
System survey.
Alright, that's what we wanted. So, the other science ship's gonna take care of this area. These... Okay. So, I know what we're going to do. Oh, hang on. Anomaly first. I mean, for all the effort that I put into getting all these science ships, I really don't have that much to show for the time. Oh, hey, maybe I should build the outpost, huh? That thing I was so worried about. Now, we're short on minerals. I'm kind of tempted to save up so that we can build the colony ship right away. Well, whether or not I build the colony ship, I'm going to want to build the energy anyway, so... Grey Goo, after detailed analysis, Officer Sant-Deet has discovered that the strange metallic substance coating the surface of Bi-6 is in fact comprises of billions upon billions of nanites. These nanites are microscopic, self-replicating micromachines, perhaps created by a past civilization for some unknown purpose. The volume and density of this nanite sludge is remarkable, adding billions of tons of mass to the underlying planet. It would appear that these tiny self-replicators entered a state of runaway reproduction at some point in the past, engulfing the planet and everything on it. In studying the nanites, the crew has made some exciting new findings that will undoubtedly aid us in our own research. All right, let's hear your mind flayers, Blagus.
Rocket new tech.
All right, so nanomechanics engineering received from researchers plus 20%. Advanced instrumentation allows for the study and practical applications of physical systems at nanometric scales. Now, I wouldn't have normally gone for this, but I mean, we're 40 points away from exotic gas refining. That's really hard to turn down. Oh, hang on. We're not ready. Okay, we'll hold off then. But yeah, I'm thinking probably we'll get the exotic gas at this point. I'm a little tempted. Yeah, you know what? This isn't going to help my budget at all, but we can afford another Corvette. I will keep. I'll keep 200 in the background just because I do want to be able to build the colony ship reasonably soon. Fortunately, our energy paid off. We don't have any clerks, but we're fine for amenities right now. It's going to be a little bit of a balancing act where we're already good for our 30, so I can afford to have my minerals away. But if you think about liabilities that are going to be coming up, I'm going to need at least 200 in this system. Yep, 200 in this system. This is actually going to be a deficit for me because we're going to need 2 for the defensive structure, and then we're going to be using 1 for the minerals. All right, there we go. So first thing this has got to do is pay for itself. Obviously, we're no longer in a deficit, but I'd like to get the stockpile up a little bit more. But yeah, so now I've got 100 that I need from here. In theory, 200 for the colony ship. And then on top of that, I'm going to need to build when we get to 25, we're going to need to build another building slot here on top of probably another generator district. Actually, probably another 2 generator districts. None of those things are cheap. So, I don't really have, like, the problem is I don't really have any clear answer for how I'm going to do it any differently. I just mostly need to keep an eye on the minerals. So, a remarkable array of gases are being vented on Ceradon 1, ones not usually found on molten worlds. Some of these gases show promising industrial value, so we'll research that. I think probably the plan is going to be, so Chiblar makes sense because it's got just a lot of energy wealth. Also, it's got some trade, so when I build the base, that'll help out. I think the next argument is by, or however you pronounce it, because it'll net itself out. It'll pay for the mineral extraction, and it'll also give me another colony. It's kind of tempting to buy minerals, but I just need to wait the month. So, in addition, okay, good timing for all that. So, an abandoned ship has been left to drift aimlessly above this moon. The massive sails protruding from its hull suggest that it relied on solar power to function. So, zero-G refineries. The addition of internal refineries on mining stations will substantially increase mineral production. Okay, so powered exoskeleton seems like a really good idea right now. Although I suppose it is just from jobs. Jobs is still my largest component. Exotic gas refining is going to be around forever, and I don't actually have any... Yeah, I don't have any things that can exploit it, so what I'll do is I'll pack that away for a time when I want another draw at the cards, I think. Because the advantages that I'll be gaining from that are... they're not going to be realized for a while. Okay, so I built the mining station here just so I can get the rate up. So in this case, I'm thinking probably the nutritional plenitude policy was... Well, it's hard to say, right? Because obviously the population plus 10% from habitability plus 5.6 for my somewhat paltry amenities. And... you know what? I should be looking at the population for this. Okay, let's see how this is affecting my energy output. This will give me an idea. 60%? What do you people want from me? It's 60%, base 50, 10 from a Gaia world. Am I missing something? Anyways. Plaga says is it Litheri or Illitheri? Hegemony is a musculoid race on a continental world. Traits are intelligent, venerable, decadent, repugnant, and non-adaptive. Government is totalitarian regime consisting of a shadow council technocracy with a style of materialism, xenophobia, and authoritarianism. Have you pre-ordered Baldur's Gate 3 yet? Actually, I don't think that's available for pre-order, but you seem to have lost the bio that you've read. Oh, that's a shame. All right, Extremophilia. Sant Deet and their crew have made a surprising discovery on Ceradon 1. The molten planet is home to an exotic array of extremophilic microorganisms. The bacteria live deep inside the volcanic vents that scar the planets, thriving in extremely high temperatures. Produced there. This unprecedented find is the first known example of organic life forms flourishing on molten planets. Moreover, the extremophiles on Ceradon 1 are in fact responsible for the rare gases detected in this thin atmosphere, producing these valuable compounds as a byproduct of their metabolic processes. So I think that's the exotic gases. The ISS Ibraconia has discovered a previously unknown strategic resource. Dubbed exotic gases, these gases have a number of tactical and even recreational uses. While we do not yet possess the means to extract this resource, we should seriously consider establishing control over the system for future exploitation. So, which system was this? This is a tricky one. Like, seeing as it's a later tech and the fact that I can get it so early, that puts me ahead in terms of the extraction. That's going to be a few years worth, I'd say, of production that we can just sit on. I don't really have anything to do with it. Well, that's not true, actually. Edicts, we could do exotic gases on fuel, so bonuses to sublight speed, bonus to shield hit points. Okay, there's nothing we could do with it. Still, doesn't hurt to have a nice stockpile for when you want to do some massive upgrades. Primordial soup, nestled in the sheltered pockets across Escola 3's surface, is a rich sludge of simple organic compounds that our researchers believe could be a hotbed for, abiogenesis? The spontaneous formation of organic life from lifeless matter. Escola 3 has an unusually thick atmosphere for a barren world, which could make it hospitable for simple life forms. Although this presents a unique opportunity to study what could be the early stages of the origin of life, it would be best to set our expectations low, as it may still be millions of years before life evolves naturally on Escola 3, if at all. Yeah, I think Plagas probably plays the way that I do, which is I don't really consider the consequences of the choices that I make so much as I go for ones that seem dramatically interesting or appropriate. Then again, I'm also a little bit more experienced in the game, so I can afford to make bad decisions. We've discovered an abandoned solar sail ship in orbit around Zudra B2A. The sublight vessel was built by an unknown culture and appears to be several thousand years old. One of the massive sails has a large tear where some kind of object passed through, most likely a meteoroid, which appears to have disabled the vessel. Although the technology of the ship is severely outdated, it does possess some interesting engineering design choices. Interesting, albeit primitive design, although I'll never turn down the extra engineering, and I think we're due for at least one more Corvette. That might be two. War! No. I don't think we can... I'm always a little curious on the... Oh, wait, we need to try and vassalize them, which we will never be able to do. One day you'll make a fine organic battery. Hurt my feelings. Okay, so we're starting to slowly get back on track as far as minerals are concerned. I kind of want to take Ceradon, but I think in this case, this is the system. So I really want the energy credits, but clearly it's the only time in Stellaris that I felt that I am constrained on minerals. So if I get a chance to get even another 2 per month, I'm going to take it. We're in something of a drought. We're actually in a drought for everything, which is a shame because I know we're going to be feeling that in terms of our expansion before too long. But again, the nice thing is we've locked on. So there's a couple of nice things about the situation is that we've locked off this for ourselves, but we've also locked off this as an exploration possibility. So we know that we're going to be dedicating ourselves to the right-hand side, and we're going to have 3 ships to do that with. Then, of course, we'll also have the advantages of different archaeology and whatnot. Well, I say 3. That's obviously 3 ships after I've gotten this all sorted out, but... Oh, okay. I have no idea how they're going to get through, but...
Accretion complete.
We'll see if that prediction turns out. So clearly here, the starbase upkeep is the one to go for. We don't need the administrative capacity yet, and this will give me a shot in the arm as far as the energy. There is no way for their ship to get through there. All right. So I almost never build mines because we're drowning in minerals. So let's reconsider what these colonies are going to look like. Okay, so this is a decent mine. Again, we'll be getting less from each unit, but that's not actually the worst in the world. I mean, like, I've got nothing else for the population to do, so that's sorted. I think this one actually was another mine. No, this one. Okay, so this will be my energy center again. Not primarily, but I think, yeah, I think this can sort itself. So they're already building the starbase. The real question now is whether or not I want to take the shot and do the colony ship. And actually, okay, I'm going to hate myself for doing this, but I am going to take it. So why am I doing such a reckless thing, you say? Two reasons. So one, obviously, the sooner I colonize, the sooner I get the advantage of the additional pops. But on top of that, given the fact that I know that this is going to become a mining hub, I'm a little bit more interested in getting this thing up and running than I am at getting the additional 2 a month. So, I mean, it's only 10 months it's going to take me to get this mine built up. So, all right, physics research from researchers plus 20%, exploring the the mediation of fundamental forces through subatomic particles. So there's only one option here, an additional 5% research speed. I'm not even going to consider the others. There were some nice ones. Actually, because you get to... Oh, no. I'm going to have to pick it. Energy credits from technicians. That's obviously nice because I am going to be building up that infrastructure, and fusion reactors are definitely something that I want for my ship designs because I tend to find that I'm constrained by not having enough power. But a flat 5% bonus to research is really strong, and clearly I want that very badly. I'm willing to go into a lower growth period. Some manner of artificial structure peeks out from between the toxic clouds of Zudra 3A's atmosphere. So we'll research that. So I'm willing to go into a slower growth period as far as energy is concerned. What we're going to do is we're going to focus on the minerals first. And the reason for that is when given the choice, I try and build the thing that I know I'm not going to be able to recover. So if I build the mineral first, even though it means that I have less energy credits, and there's certainly lots of things, like I don't have a commander for my ships yet. I don't have a lot of things that I could be buying with energy credits. But because we don't have a lot of options for minerals until we take Trab, I've got 5, a 2, another 3, and a 3. I know I'm going to be colonizing every single, or not I'm going to be putting up a starbase in every single one of these regions. So a little bit of pain on energy is going to be made up from the fact that I'm going to have a very large surplus. So in this particular case, where I normally would have built a mine for the energy, this is a situation where I'm not exactly spoiled for energy, but I am spoiled in terms of options for energy. Now let's take a look at Trab and see. Okay, Trab actually wound up being a good one because this is going to be the high. So essentially what you can look at this, I can't remember, are mining platforms 3 or 2? It's an energy platform. It doesn't cost anything. One. Okay. Did I say 3 or 2? Anyways, yeah, it's 1. So in this case, we still wind up. Yeah, so we're out ahead on this one. We are probably ahead on this one. Yep. So Trab is technically a deficit because it doesn't have any energy generation, unless, it surprises us. But again, we're going to have a fairly healthy energy surplus if we just colonize everything that's one space away from us. Okay. I did say I was going to wrap up after... I started a little bit late, but I'm also very hungry. So let's get ourselves into better shape. So I don't really need to worry about the 200 alloys anymore. Yeah, you know what? Actually, that was a little... It's a little crazy just because of the... I still need to build extensions. I think in this case here, because Trab has so many... Oh, well, I would have... No, we'll still go to Trab. No. Mining station first, then. So I wasn't normally going to colonize this area, but the fact that there's just so many minerals here gives me an edge. We've got our... There we go. That'll be what we end on. I'll keep playing at the normal pace, but we'll let the colony ship deploy. I will, however, be going through the other species, though. For those of you who wanted to see the other ones that we've come up with, they all have stories. The writing is 50-50, but the ideas, I think some of them are okay. So, impressive structures litter a small area of the surface of Lazon 2A, practically begging for some archaeological work. Okay. I'm just trying to think about what we... I usually like to try and debrief in terms of what we're going to try and accomplish on the next playthrough. So we're certainly doing well for alloys. So this is one of these weird cases where I've actually got more alloys than I know what to do with right now. Not entirely, like we still have space for my fleets. But I've never really been in a situation where I feel as constrained in minerals as I am right now. And again, we've normally done nutritional plentitude at the start, and I think it's just I got a little unlucky in terms of the placement for systems. So getting the mining colony set up. So it's going to be a very similar pattern to what we followed here. We're going to run in and basically... When I get a chance to build a building, I'll do it. It'll almost certainly be a temple at the start. Zur is going to focus on energy because it's one of the few I have that has a lot of energy slots. In the case, this planet's going to have a little bit more focus on mining, although who knows, if I need the generator districts, I'll take them. Again, I don't expect high output from these guys. And where I can, these two systems are going to get the buildings that don't have production. They're going to be the ones that give you a more constant bonus, things like fortresses and whatnot. And then Zurv will be a little bit more dedicated to the things that you need your happiness to go up. Now, this doesn't mean I'm going to abandon these colonies. Like, I'll do what I can to get the happiness up. I just know that I'm fighting against the fact that my population really wants to stay on Eden. How you doing, Captain Zerge? Habitable World Survey. We now know without a doubt that a thriving biosphere is not something unique to Zur. Both the scientific community and the public at large are eager to learn more about the various forms of alien life found throughout the galaxy. Efforts to catalog the life forms we encounter are already underway, but our xenobiologists have urged us to focus on our planetary survey efforts on habitable, life-bearing worlds. Commendable initiative. I suspect this one will be a little bit harder just because we're running out of space, but I mean 8 habitable worlds is not... We'll find some, it's just not as easy when the map is small. Abandoned amusement park. The structures on Lazon 2A are not as old as we first believed. It seems to be a playground or an amusement park of some sort. Science officer Sant Deet notes that many of the contraptions are highly complex creations that we can learn much from, and that, to the builder's alien eyes, this might have been a cutting-edge sensor array or even a gigantic art installation. Regardless, to us Zurites, it looks mostly like a place where you would take your young and let them amuse themselves. Society and engineering. I am a little interested. How many more? It's only like 2... Okay.
Establishing lithosphere.
I was thinking about going up to Ceradon, but in this case, we'll just prep the colony ship for the next delivery. This one was the... Or was this one the... Yeah, I think I want to take a look at the hole in the ground first. All right. Our colony ship has gently touched down by the outskirts of a large oasis on Minchir Prime. Situated at the foot of a large mountain, this ideal location provides shelter from the wind and has easy access to water. The ship has been permanently converted into an administrative headquarters of the new settlement, and its reactor core is in the process of being removed so that it may serve as the colony's temporary power source. Hundreds of small tents and prefab shelters have sprung up around the former starship's massive hull as colonists begin to disembark in large numbers, the first Zerite city on an alien world. A great day for the Divine Zerite Covenant, and the point at which we will be ending our playthrough, but not ending the stream because I wanted to show you all the species. For a sec, you thought that ship was called the ISS Parley. Patley. Okay. By the way, I must apologize, Captain Zergi, because I know you always arrive right around the time that I wrap up. But at this case, we'll show you sort of the plan. So these are all of the species that we've made, and as you can see, every single one of them has a story to them. So we'll do a few. So the Akano High Kingdom is the one that we played with Ancient Relics. So this is the story of Harrison Jones, High King of Old Alvania. No artifact was safe from Jones, and even the most ingenious engineers of ages past could not develop a mechanism that would confound his brilliance. Through his legendary exploits, Jones united the quarrelsome tribes and set his sights on the new secrets and treasures buried within. The Akano people of Old Alvania are now reaching out to the galaxy in their stone ships, continuing the great work of the High King. No tomb is safe, and no civilization will remain untouched. This is partly because Johnny Big Time really wanted space dwarves, so they were an enlightened monarchy, Byzantine bureaucracy, philosopher king, xenophobic militarist materialist, and the way we decided to represent dwarves would be industrious, non-adaptive, strong, and natural engineers. I figure if you play a dwarf species and you don't make them natural engineers, you're doing it wrong. And they lived on Alpine worlds. I really like Rhizome Capital. This is the one that got the Twitter account. So obviously this was for Megacorp. Megacorporation, it had brand loyalty and franchising. They were egalitarian, xenophilic, and materialist. And the plantoid species, the shareholder species, were ingenious, thrifty, but non-adaptive. And their biography was, Rhizome Capital is pleased to announce that it successfully completed its first round of seed capital. Our plants are already running at full capacity, getting ready to offer the finest goods and services the galaxy has to offer. Tax season got you down? Our bean counters at Deloitte are licensed in all jurisdictions and legal systems. Need help with housework? Rhizome Robotics solar-powered photosynthetic assistants are ready to attend to your every need. Under the sage guidance of Ebenezer Hawthorne, we'll make you green. Rhizome Capital. Leaf growth to the experts. Is there a Blizzard reference to Indiana Jones? Yeah, I definitely was doing. Indiana Jones reference there, but I was not aware of a Blizzard reference. That's really funny. Yeah, that was not intentional, but I'm glad that worked out. Yes, as soon as Megacorp was announced, I 100% wanted to make a species based around plantoid puns. So. The Valon Polity, I actually rather like this one because I think this is the first xenophobic one that I did, and I went for space cats, so I thought about all of the features of cats. Also, I just think this is a handsome looking cat. So these were... Oh, okay, neat. Representative democracy, democratic parliamentary system, idealistic foundation. They're fanatic egalitarians and xenophobic. They're slow learners, traditional and intelligent. And this is one actually where I kind of worked in a little bit more about, in terms of the story. So the Valon Polity is founded on highly democratic principles and very closed minds. Valgar is home to an active public discourse that follows highly predictable and conservative lines of thought. Despite this, it has also produced some of the galaxy's finest scientists. When confronted with new concepts, Valon will process the thought to make it orthodox. But once it has done so, few can deny the tremendous feats of ingenuity that result. The Creatures from Valgar present the galaxy with a paradox, a race of highly capable scientists and explorers who mistrust and devalue everything that they find. That one isn't quite as, original. Or there were a couple of other ones that I had. Oh yeah, actually there's a couple that I liked here. So this one was the Blessed Alari Grand Duchy. I think this one, I hadn't done an Imperial one before. So Feudal Empire. This one was definitely about space Rome, basically. Not exact. Actually, no, I think it was a space pope that I wanted to make. So syncretic evolution, feudal society, fanatical or authoritarian, spiritualist, thrifty, traditional, and decadent. From each according to their ability, so it is written on the walls of the first temple, and so it has remained. The Alari society is one of exchange and service. The rigid hierarchy belies a very active social mobility, with the bright amassing great fortunes and the slow losing it all and being reduced to slaves. The Grand Duke oversees this dynamic system, and all seek to emulate his wisdom and shrewd dealing, lest the next generation erase all the gains that have been made. Everyone and everything has its place, and it will find it inside the Blessed Alari Grand Duchy. So I wanted the idea here where you have exceptional wealth and inequality, but it is in fact one that is very much meritocratic. So the idea is that there is no idea of a slobbering dauphin, that genuinely, like, the idiot child of the wealthy landowner will lose it all. But there's clearly an inversion in terms of the title. Eyes of Sin really likes plants, and she wanted a plant species based off of. She really liked the look of this one, so we took some inspiration from her, and we wound up making an efficient bureaucracy, functional Actually, this one was another theocracy. I think I actually might have done the Blessed Alari Grand Duchy because I didn't want to play the Mandasura order and lose. So efficient bureaucracy, functional architecture, xenophobic, militaristic, spiritualist, and fleeting, thrifty, and conservationists. One of the galaxy's greatest paradoxes is why a planet as beautiful as Laborius Primus should be inhabited by a species utterly indifferent, indeed hostile to anyone seeking to witness it. The Mandasura are as beautiful as their homeworld, and yet the only reliable account of the species or planet is the savagery with which they protect this gem. The Mandasura seem only concerned with inward perfection during their reportedly short lives. However, the galaxy may finally be able to bear witness to these enigmatic creatures, as reports from Laborus Prime indicates Mandasuran ships exploring their system. The Mandasura may finally be prepared to make their debut. Now, I don't think I knew about inward perfection at the time, so I should probably redo the ethics here. The Tekra's multi-system I was really happy with, but unfortunately I don't get to tell you the follow-up to the story here. So this one we went nuts on the stats. This was, I think, the first one we played with the Synthetic Dawn. So this was a driven assimilator, rock breaker, machine, bulky, uncanny, recycled, and mass-produced. So it's an Arctic world. So the planet known as 01 was home to a monastic order known as the Savelli, dedicating themselves to move beyond the pursuit of transitory knowledge and learn truths eternal. To that end, they fashioned a servitor race dedicated to the accumulation and caretaking of transitory knowledge in all its forms. The Savelli passed beyond this realm, and their servitors, the Tecaris, were left to fulfill their mandate. Time passed, 01 was covered in ice, and the caretaker finally understood its purpose and went out into space to account for and incorporate all organic life. Now, when you take a look at the assimilated species, it's the Savelli, and the actual story, the proper version of the story is actually located in the biography of the race that is subjugated by these guys, and that's basically that the corpses of the Savelli are reanimated by the Tecaris multi-system. And so it's the idea that this is one of the fanatic spiritualist species who were able to reconcile the existence of robots by basically saying that there are things that, biological beings study, and we want to focus on that, and that things that are of the mundane plane we leave to the robots. And effectively, after they died, these things reanimated them, and they gave birth basically to the Borg, which is why you sort of see the spiritualist thing in the background. So that one, I was like, as soon as I found out that you could have two windows, I figured I would do that one. Just a couple more. So the Hazar Collective, again, when we're talking about portraits that sort of tell stories, this one certainly gives an indication. So this is a hive mind, divided attention, strength of legions, hive-minded, repugnant, intelligent, and rapid breeders. So at the dawn of Hazari FTL travel, their homeworld of Pogavon was embroiled in a world war, driven over disputes as to the colonization rights of the planets that they hoped to discover. One Hazar sought to move past the petty squabbles that had held the Hazar back for millennia and would unite them once and for all, not through military conquest, but through achieving the final stage of their evolution. Through his network of contacts, he placed the virus in key cities around Pogavon, and as the armies claimed victory, they were infected and turned to serve the swarm. The Hazar are finally united in purpose, and the colonization may begin. So, again, as soon as I saw this fungoid, I knew I had to make it a hive mind, and I loved the idea of somebody who unleashed his act of pacifism was effectively to turn the species into a hive mind. Now, this is one that I kind of liked, and this is sort of inspired by the way that Paradox did humans. So we started off with the Commonwealth of Kirill. So this is a direct democracy, democratic, beacon of liberty, mining guilds, fanatic, egalitarian, and materialist. They're thrifty, and they live on Kirill. So the Gok spawned on Kirill, a planet long thought to be inhospitable to... the Gok spawned on Kirill, a planet long thought to be inhospitable to all forms of life. The unrelenting sun and scarce resources forced the creatures that managed to survive to adapt and cooperate with each other. This cooperation gave birth to commerce, civilization, and now spaceflight. Through their efforts at making the most of what the planet has to offer among all members of society, the Kirill have no concept of a zero-sum game and instead see each trade through all of its facets and do not consider it done until both parties have achieved their ends. As you can see, it's also a little bit earlier inside of the game, so you notice I get a little bit more exotic in terms of my choices here. But this was also the setup for the Carillion conglomerate, who I now turned into a megacorp. I actually adjusted so that I could keep them as a trade league. So this is not exactly as I originally wrote them, but I decided to adjust them because the game wanted me to make changes to make them a trade league still. So they're now corporate free traders, private prospectors. They're egalitarian, fanatic, materialists. So you'll notice they're inverted in terms of their ideals. The same ideals, just different emphasis. And the story here will explain why they are solitary and quick learners. On the deserts of Kirill, there were those known as the Water Drinkers, who greedily sought any oasis and claimed it as their own. The Goxi ethic demanded that as members of society, they too had their place, but as time went on and the population began to stretch its resources, the excesses of the Water Drinkers faced the elected representatives with the choice of exile for some or starvation for all. The Water Drinkers were sent off and found a new home on the planet Yan. Not forgetting their origins, the Water Drinkers named themselves the Carillions, considering themselves the true sons of their homeland. The Carillion ethic is one of advancement at any cost. The market must not be impeded, and all must rise and fall from its operations. Actually, you know what? There's one last one. This is, I think, the first one that I did. So the Oklar Citizen State. Lady Dow really likes sloths, so she wanted that one here. This one is based off of a Johnny Walker commercial I saw. But Citizen Republic, Distinguished Admiralty, Citizen Service, Militant, Fanatic Materialist, Intelligent, Deviant, Wasteful, and Adaptive. The Deviant was one of the really big features that I wanted in the story here, but... Have you done your part? Originally a slogan designed to sell consumer goods 2 decades into a war that engulfed Glira, it was adapted by Adig Den Badir to unite his people and press on in the Great War. While the borders did not change, the Oklari united behind his leadership until he was the world president in all but name. Declining to serve a second term, he was followed by his 2 sons. Under the rulership, the Oklar have finally taken to the stars. But as the Great War recedes into memory, can society's martial traditions be held together by a mere advertising slogan? So one of the things I wanted to have here was with Deviants was to see what happens when, basically allow for the fact that it may no longer be a citizen republic and that the ethics might shift. So one of the things I thought might be interesting is if... So we had the son actually keep getting reelected as the leader, So I thought, oh, this would be kind of neat. I mean, maybe we started kind of going down an authoritarian route, but as it happened, the sun died and the den. Oh yeah, so there was the sun, and then there was the son of the sun. So it was always a den batter that was leading the nation. So I thought, oh yeah, this will be neat. So maybe we actually start taking a bit of an authoritarian bent here. But then the den batter line died out, and so, you know, democracy was preserved. And that was really the moment that I wanted to make sure that every species I made had some kind of a story behind it, because, you know, playing the game and just having a leader die doesn't necessarily mean that much. To have someone that you've set up in terms of the story as being sort of this question in terms of whether or not democracy is going to survive inside of this society, that becomes really interesting, and it becomes really resonant when a character who might, introduce that dictatorship isn't able to fulfill it. And so I think in the end that winds up being really the stuff that keeps bringing me back to this game. But I've outstayed my welcome, especially for those of you who wanted gameplay. Obviously, we're done with that. So one last reminder, Paradox was the one to give me a copy of Lithoids. I'm enjoying the pack. Obviously, if you don't like Stellaris, you're not going to have anything inside of the species pack that doesn't, that'll make it appeal to you. This one is unique. I mean, I've bought the previous two, and I was looking forward to buying this one, but they gave me a copy, so I can't complain about that. This one's a bit unique from the others. So the others, the value is really in the extra music and the voice packs and whatnot. This one, they did actually add new game mechanics. So if you want to pick it up, you can use that Humble link, and a little bit of the money will go towards me. If you want the full amount of the money to go to Paradox, you can buy it from paradoxplaza.com. Or, of course, if you see a better deal somewhere else, you should probably get it there, because in the end, the amount that I'll be getting from Humble definitely is not worth you going out of pocket. But very special thank you to Paradox for that. I think it's really cool that they introduced new mechanics. So if you've not looked at the species packs, this is one you might want to consider if what had been keeping you from getting it was the fact that the game doesn't do anything. It's been really interesting to check out the Lithoids and how they play differently, especially now that I'm trying things like Inward Perfection. In terms of plans for the stream for the next week, I'm going to try and get another episode of Morrowind recorded. I've always had one in the tank for this playthrough, so I'm trying not to have any interruptions to the presentations. Do keep in mind, next week premieres are going away, so I'm probably going to have to set them up as reruns, and the quality will take another hit as a result of that. If you like the Morrowind playthroughs, you want to see them in full quality, you can do that on YouTube. They'll always be released Tuesday at 7, and I will be doing reruns to try and just keep the habit going. But again, there's going to be a more substantial quality drop. I believe the resolution is half of what the YouTube ones will be now. So I have a feeling there's probably going to be a little bit of a drop off for that series. But my usual streaming days, Monday, Wednesday, Friday, we'll probably be back to Age of Wonders Planetfall on Monday. And then in terms of Wednesday, Friday, I've got a few things. More Stellaris, obviously. We'll be carrying on with Lithoids. I want to get back to Six Ages. I want to get back to Abandoned Ship. I've got a couple of things which I haven't played yet that I want to show you. And most importantly, Night Team 4. Because that's a wonderful game, and I really would like to play that again soon. So anyways, let me just take a minute, find somebody to host. If you are not following already and you like my stuff, do feel free to hit that button so you can know when I'm back up. And who do we have? Oh, perfect. Johnny Big Time is streaming. Johnny Big Time is an exceptionally talented streamer, and while it's not Stellaris, he is playing Fallout New Vegas for this first time. Johnny Big Time is my favorite streamer on Twitch. He's actually got a number of people watching him, so I feel good about that. He's a really entertaining guy. I strongly recommend you hang out and check out his stuff. If you don't like it, obviously you know where to find more Stellaris stuff. But he is an absolute treat. So I will leave you in his capable hands. I will see some of you on Monday, and for those of you who only want Stellaris, I will announce on Twitter when I know what day I'm doing that. Possibly Friday, but we'll see. Anyways, enjoy Johnny's stuff.